Journey to the West is about to be released. Most Saint-level masters had to squeeze some time from their busy schedules to play games, which was why many of them couldn't be seen in the shop each day. However, in the recent days after Mr. Fang announced the news about the League of Legends World Championship Series, the Saint-level masters visited the shop more frequently. Hey! This old senior has been coming every day recently. This was a pinnacle stage Saint-level master. Sala glanced at the door and saw an old mage draped in a white mage's robe with a weirdly dressed young man standing beside him. Almost everything about this man appeared to be young, but Sala's sharp elf intuition told her that this young man was more extraordinary than the old mage. "Mr. Swine," the old mage said, "I'll go get 2 bottles of Coke." "Okay." The young man named Swine nodded mildly and said with a solemn expression, "I'll go get 2 computers. Come and enter my lobby so that we can get to Challenger. We need more people, right?" The old mage lifted 5 fingers and said, "We need at least 5 people to form a team." "Don't worry," Swine said mildly, "I'll summon masters who were once the most powerful figures in the world. Only we can form a team and become godlike figures." Sala watched them nearby and said, "Ha! How come they want to form a team too? Isn't it just an entertainment tournament?" Sala looked around. Even Swexu said that there were many such competitions in the past. "Anyway, my snow pigeon team will enter the competition." Swexu said that participation is important. This game is so fun that people just can't stop playing it. That is why even the Saint-level masters are forming teams. She mumbled to herself silently, "It's so fun that I've been playing it all the time lately." Unlike the difficult games such as Dark Souls, in this game, the characters projected by champions in Summoner's Rift weren't stronger than level 6, and even she could control them with ease. At this moment, the old mage Hematon returned with 2 bottles of Coke. While looking around alertly, he said in a low voice, "Now. I guess no one recognizes us, right?" On the whole continent, the young man sat in his computer chair coldly and said while lifting one finger, "There are no more than 10 people who are able to recognize us." "Who?" Hematon exhaled and replied, "That's great." He glanced around at the level 8, level 9, and Saint-level masters in the shop. "Don't let anyone know about it." Swine didn't continue the topic. Instead, he asked, "Have you found the champion that is the most fitting for you?" "I have bought more than 60 champions with magic crystals," Hematon sighed heavily. "I just can't forsake the position of the Chrono Keeper. After all, he controls the law of time. After countless battles, I think it must have left some impressions in my mind. Don't you think so? When facing powerful enemies and using these skills in the fiercest battles, it's true that your instincts would force you to obtain deeper impressions of these laws of nature," the young man said, "but if you don't have this kind of talent, all your efforts will be in vain. After all, the law of time is one of the most fundamental laws in the universe, and it is not something that anyone can master. Even though these spells are greatly simplified so that even level 6 and level 7 people can cast them. What should I do then?" Hematon asked uneasily. A tiny and extremely strange wind condensed in Swine's palm. "This is the new power that I discovered after having hundreds of matches in League of Legends and studying most of the champions. It's more elusive than laws of nature. This is the origin of wind," Swine said, "it's the power that I'm comprehending." He opened a character, and above the description was the picture of a phoenix condensed entirely from ice. The description said, "Anivia is as much a part of the Freljord as the never-ending frost. Long before mortals had ever set foot on the land's frigid tundra, she had lived countless lifetimes and died as many deaths. The beginnings and ends of her eternal cycle always heralded great change, from the calming of raging storms to the ebb and flow of ice ages. It is said that when the cryo-phoenix dies, an era ends, and when she is reborn, a new era begins. This is the power of origin." Then, he looked into the distant sky outside of the shop. "Our teammates will be here soon. The huge black stone castle north to Kanglan City was one of the biggest dwarf settlements in a human city. This huge castle was said to be a very ancient construction which could be traced back to the era before the Great Destruction in the prehistoric times. Inside the library of the castle, an old dwarf who was wearing glasses was tidying up the books. It was dark outside. The muffled deep sounds of wind mingled with ear-grating thunder as if a violent storm was about to arrive. Gusts howled into the windows, and the dwarf, caught off guard, stumbled under the force. Then, a bookshelf crashed down. Crack! A thunder flashed outside the windows. After the pale lightning bolt flashed, the world was plunged into a deeper darkness. It seemed like something was trying to crawl out of the abyss-like darkness. Gusts blew at the books that had fallen on the ground. One moldy ancient book was blown open, and it was a book with the recording about the sealed ancient demon dragon named Catastrophe. The dwarf bent over to pick up the books, and his gaze fell on this ancient book. It said that if the demon dragon came out, it meant a great catastrophe would come. According to the legends, before the dragon was sealed up in the distant ancient time, the bad luck that it brought made the whole continent experience a huge horrifying event which caused the world to fall apart. Even now, there were many small planes drifting outside the main continent. Oh, the ridiculous legends! The dwarf shook his head and walked to the windows, intending to close them. At this moment, an ear-grating scream came from the room. He saw a golden pupil filling the darkness outside the windows. Oh! Scared, he dropped onto the ground on his behind. Even the brave and straightforward dwarf turned pale. Tell me, lowly bug. If you honestly answer the question of the Great Gulf, I'll allow lowly beings like you to live for a few more weeks. Low and deep roars came from outside the window. Tell the Great Gulf how to get to the League of Legends World Championship Series. Ah! The dwarf froze. You don't know it. The golden pupil glared at him. I do. I do. The dwarf nodded repeatedly. Then, the dwarf swallowed his saliva and said, In Kanglan City in the south, there's a shop called Origins Internet Club. Swoosh! The violent gust shook the solid castle while stormy winds gushed in through the windows. After a long while, the winds began to settle down. Gingerly, the dwarf walked toward the window. Suddenly, the golden pupil appeared at the window again. If the Great Gulf finds that you told a lie, I'll come back and eat you all. No. Absolutely not. The dwarf wiped the cold sweat from his face. At this moment, in the new shop at the East Continent, a group of people stood behind Xiaoao Ancestral Master and others, watching them play League of Legends. The people in the back complained, Ancestral Masters, you've played all night, Li Wuchen scolded, shut up. Everyone behind him fell silent in fear. Xiaoao Ancestral Master looked at the people around him and said, how about we form a team? It will be the most powerful team in the universe. But, Shang Zhuwen said mildly, it's not easy to choose champions. At this moment, Mr. Fang suddenly received a prompt. System upgrading progress reached 20%. Journey to the West is 50% completed, obtaining the trailer for Journey to the West. The Monkey King prototype shard is obtained. League of Legends is updated. You can exchange for the privilege to sell the gift bag of the mysterious Oriental Champion. Flying on and becoming one with swords. LOL Immortal Journey Skin Series are updated, the privilege to sell the skin series is granted. Project Skin Series are updated, the privilege to sell this skin series is granted. Task Target, average sales of each episode of Turbulent Homeland exceed 30,000. Task Reward, the privilege to publish the TV series, Journey to the West. Of course, after 20% of the system was upgraded, there was more content than this. He continued to read the updates about new champions. No tasks would be issued for the updates of the released games. After the update, a new group of champions would join and fight in League of Legends. There were corresponding cinematic trailers for different champions, so the players could learn more about them. At this moment, the players in the Zhuhua City shop were working on the video about their gaming experience. From Resident Evil to Diablo to The Legend of Sword and Fairy, they selected pictures and video clips and revisited the beautiful and prosperous lands. They remembered the boisterous and prosperous streets in Hendenmire and the beautiful port on the west coast. They also recalled the amazement that they felt at the first sight of the Sky Tower, which reached up into Empyrean. In that place, there weren't so many bloody killings as in The Legend of Mir 2. They experienced the novelty and enjoyment of their journey as adventurers. At this moment, Lan Yan saw many old screenshots and video clips. Look at this picture we took when we first boarded the Magic Zeppelin to the west coast. In the virtual image on her communication jade, a group of young people stood on the Magic Zeppelin that was hovering in the sky. A puff of white clouds floated past, revealing the bright blue sky in the distance and the sapphire blue ocean below them. Looking up along the shore, they saw a prosperous port surrounded by jade-like lush forest. In the garden-like city, buildings spread out from the center like stars, presenting a pleasing scene from every angle. Hey! Look! Lan Yao pointed at the two people from the ultimate West Realm in the picture. They were Luo Piaoling and Sia. Ye Xiao exclaimed, I remember. This girl was once beaten witless by the shop owner. I remember that they said they would guard this continent well. These ultimate West Realm people are quite fun. Lan Yan covered her smile with her palm. I guess they are still playing the game. They lived in the bitter cold Big Snow Mountains and had never seen such a beautiful place before, Nalan Mingxiu said. It's natural that they were amazed by it. Do you have a video? Let's use it. Okay. When we have time, should we go back and play it? Lan Yan suggested. They seem to be in Empyrean now, right? Although in this game, they didn't achieve any great deeds as in other games, the adventures and fights with stronger monsters were quite interesting. The new expansion has been released for a long time now, and I guess our items are outdated, Song Qingfeng complained. We'll go back when the new expansion is released. By then, their items will be outdated too. Mr. Fang continued reading the information on the system interface. The new chapter of Dungeon Fighter Online, Creation Century, is 70% completed. Please post the update trailer on the official website. Cinematics trailer of the Second Awakening is obtained. This update will be done online after the Creation Century is 100% completed. The players don't have to log off. After the update, the third class advancement for all classes and the Second Awakening skills will be available. Hey! Mr. Fang froze and yelled in confusion, online update. I'm afraid that we will be in the news on the next day with the title tens of thousands of players suddenly died in Origins Internet Club. I warn you, don't make trouble for me. It's fine with other expansions, but how can you do this update online? System replied, system upgrading. Mr. Fang was at a loss for words. F***CK. You're the boss. After calling the despicable system several times and receiving no response even when he gave it the middle finger, Mr. Fang had to give up. If something happens, it's all your fault. Don't put the blame on me. Damn it. He continued to read and finally saw the content about privilege upgrades. Obviously, Mr. Fang, the somewhat fraudulent shop owner, was on his way to becoming a shop owner in the real sense after continuous privilege upgrades. Mr. Fang saw that, after the system finished 20% of the upgrade, he received another privilege, Prize Vault. Elementary level system Prize Vault. You have obtained the right to organize any internet cafe activity besides the tasks given by the system. You have the right to set the number and content of the prizes. The elementary level system Prize Vault can produce 5 prizes per year. Among them, 4 will be randomly produced, and 1 will be custom-made. The level of the custom-made prize can't exceed 80% of the highest level system item that the host possesses. Producing prizes will consume system energy. The host will receive no rewards for self-organized activities. All the content of this stage has been upgraded. Please manage the shops well and wait for the next stage of the upgrade. The updated content is ready to be released. Do you choose to release now? Mr. Fang answered, yes. At this moment, dark clouds covered the sky above Kanglan City with flashing lightning bolts and booming thunder. The world turned gloomy. Containing deadly roars of fury, the chilly winds seemed to come from the ancient darkness. The deep darkness contained the presence of death and corruption. From the horrifying darkness full of deadly presence, a huge head stuck out from the dark clouds. Ah! What's that? The peaceful city was plunged into alarm and unprecedented fear. The countless pedestrians scrambled to run. Roar! A horrifying roar exploded like a thunder in the sky above the city. Screams and yells of alarm were everywhere in the city. The elves who had just run out of the shop to check out the commotion were instantly shocked unconsciousness. At this moment, people saw that a huge black demon dragon flapped its huge wings and slowly landed from the sky, causing a giant black tornado. Sir! Sir! The employees of the shop called out to the shop owner frantically. Some elves fainted in fear. Come! Oh! Who fainted in fear? Furious, Rowling jumped up from the ground and said, I just felt dizzy because of the shaking. We elves are not that faint-hearted. When she turned around, she suddenly saw a huge black dragon head and two golden eyes which were staring at her by the entrance. Ah! Shrill screams sounded. She tripped over another elf and bumped her head on the tea table, causing little stars to appear in her eyes. Thud! Sir! Sir! Merlin was frantic. That elf was so scared that she fell unconscious again. Where are they? Where are they? Having just finished browsing the upgraded content, Mr. Fang heard the yells and hurried over to check out the situation. Sure enough, he saw some elves lying on the ground while a few of them had just gotten up. Hey! Then, he saw a black-faced young man with two wings on his back walking in and yelling, Sir, get me online! Boom! Before he could finish, a huge sound resonated in the area, and he instantly flew out like a black shooting star. If you scare my customers again next time, you don't have to come anymore. A vague figure with silver hair and in a blue windbreaker appeared on Fang Qi, making it seem like he turned into someone else. Half a second later, that figure vanished, and Fang Qi turned back to himself. It was so fast that everyone thought their eyes were playing tricks on them. Who? Mr. Fang exhaled deeply and thought, I practiced this for a few years already, but I'm still not fast enough. In the black stone castle the dwarf had just put away the fallen books. Boom! A huge noise sounded, and a black figure crashed down from the ceiling, knocking the books everywhere. Ah! A frantic howl sounded, how come you're back again? Chapter 803 Water Curtain Cave in Flower Fruit Mountain, stay tuned. It seems like someone punched me? No. No, how could a human defeat the Great Gulf? No, the Great Gulf was once defeated by a human. Who was that human? In its dragon form, Gulf scratched its head with its huge claws and mumbled to itself while spitting flames, how come I can't remember? Slowly, it got up from the ruined castle and murmured, is it because too many years have passed? Forget it. The Great Gulf has League of Legends World Championship Series to attend, and there's no time to waste on these weak humans. It's not because I, the Great Gulf, can't defeat him, but I must attend the competition. Yeah, that's it, it instantly flapped its huge wings and flew away. The dwarf who had been knocked out got up dizzily and looked around the ruined library. Our castle! Damn it! This damn dragon! One day, we'll make you into barbecued dragon meat! The dwarves stomped their feet angrily. In the new shop at the East Continent at this moment, more and more customers came into the shop. You must have sensed it. The Xiaoao ancestral master said in a low voice, if I didn't need teammates to enter the shop's competition, I wouldn't have told you about it. Li Wuchen stretched his arms with a deep look in his eyes. You're right. The skills that we can practice in the battles here are indeed not as simple as they look. Very interesting. The grey-robed middle-aged man named Duguyi said, "We can control champions who understand the laws of nature. Even the simplest move or skill contains the use of the laws of nature. It means that when we truly understand them in the real world, we will have gained proficiency with these skills in this mystical realm already." But, Duguyi said, the problem remains that we can't find proper champions. At this moment, they received a new message. League of Legends' online update is completed, and new champions and new skins are unlocked. To know more about the new content, enter the Summoner's Lobby and read about it in the Update channel. Update channel. At this moment, there were many League of Legends players in the shop, and many of them had received this message. Undoubtedly, the game streamers were the people who were most sensitive to the new messages. As a big streamer in the Kanglan City shop, Mr. Dirk was the first player to open the update channel. In the West Continent, the players were not limited in the shop. There were many cloud players who watched live streams from other places. Since not everyone could make the long journey to Kanglan City just to play games, there had been hundreds of thousands of cloud players watching Mr. Dirk's spiritual spell visual projection. TL note: cloud players or cloud gamers in China refer to those only watch live streams of games and various other content without purchasing hardware or software to play themselves. After the battle with the Shadow Legion, the number grew to almost 1 million. The cloud players of Dark Sword had grown to about 1 million as well, but today's live stream wasn't about the Dark Sword. In the Kanglan City shop, a dog-headed man sitting in a corner opened the update channel. Which one should I watch? Instantly, he saw a group of new champions and new skins with introduction videos. As a streamer who usually played the dog-headed champion in the game, he soon turned his gaze to the champion standing in a vast yellow desert and wearing golden armor. Above the figure were the words about this video: Shurima, Rise of the Ascended. We'll watch this first. Previously in League of Legends, players had seen several Ascendants who were the Magus Ascendant Zeroth, the Curator of the Sands Nasus, and the Butcher of the Sands Renekton. Of course, Ascendant was a translated word and was not the same as the Cultivator's Ascendants, but they were somewhat similar. The Ascendants in League of Legends came from an ancient nation Shurima. Regretfully, Zeroth stole this ascension ritual and took horrifying power from it, turning the whole nation into dust. Their emperor, the Emperor of the Sands Azire, was also buried under the vast desert. At this moment, Mr. Dirk was leading a group of people to watch the video. They watched as the blood of Shurima's descendants seeped deep into the ancient sands underground and freed a deep and ancient magic spell. With consciousness and a physical body reborn from annihilation, Azire came back to life. But at this moment, he didn't consider the Empire or the Ascension ritual. The first thought after rebirth told him that Shurima's descendants needed his help. He didn't realize that he, the greatest Emperor of Shurima, could finally ascend in the end. He only wanted to save Shurima's descendants and revive all of them. At this instant, the viewers were watching the new Champions trailer saw the sun disk deeply buried in the sand shooting out a radiant golden light. A miracle happened. The Ascension ritual is continuing. Ruins, sands, as if it was controlled by a great godly force, the great ancient nation returned to its previous state. The huge golden desert city slowly rose from underground while the huge sun disk, like a blazing golden sun, illuminated the whole city in golden lights. Shurima, your emperor has returned. My goodness! Astonishing! What champion is this? Is the new champion a god? Not only Mr. Dirk, but the large group of viewers watching his spiritual spell visual projection were staring at the scene in amazement. On the other side, the Xiaoao Ancestral Master and others clicked open the new skin trailer. Immortal Journey. The mountaintop reaches skyward, the earth reaches for the heavens. How come the Wujua bladesman can use the sword control technique? A group of people stood behind and watched the video in which the Wujua bladesman spread his arms, and 7 golden energy swords shot up into the sky. He turned around, and the 7 energy swords flew back and became one before dropping beneath his feet. Then, he flew out while standing on the sword. Behind him, the storm's fury Janna flew on her unsheathed immortal sword as well. These skins, they continued to watch with widened eyes. Immortal Journey Gift Bag for Eternal Sword Yi, Soaring Sword Fiora, and Sacred Sword Janna, 99 magic crystals each. Immortal Journey Gift Bag, with the skins of the 3 champions, 288 magic crystals. In the new shop at the East Continent, the people exchanged a look. Buy it. Buy the one with 3 champions. There's a discount for it. When we queue up as 5, everyone must use Immortal Journey skins. Without the skin, they can't join us. Then, they saw something else in the update channel. Gift bag of a mysterious Oriental champion. What's this? There's no trailer for it. It seems to be related to the new TV series. We can't even see what this champion looks like. Only a black figure was shown on the gift bag. Where's the new TV series? These people turned to the new TV series, but they only found Flower Fruit Mountain, Water Curtain Cave, and a big boulder. Stay tuned. Sir. The old customers in the Zhuhua City shop, the old daists in the Yuanyang City shop, and the customers, like the elves, in the Kanglan City shop all sent messages to file their complaints. Sir. A mountain, a cave, and a boulder, what kind of trailer is that? Is this boulder the main character? Angry face, do you want us to watch this boulder? Su Tianji was the most active in her complaints, and her expression showed that she felt like she was being treated as a fool. If people want to watch this boulder, I'll cut off my head and give it to you. Mr. Fang replied in surprise. Hey? How did you know it? I don't want to see your damn monkeys. Zhang Xiaoyu said in a huff, I don't want to see monkeys. Post a good trailer for us. In the past, the trailers all showed powerful figures, but there were no promotions for this TV series. The scummy shop owner refuses to promote it, which means that the new TV series isn't good. In the Kanglan City shop, the knights led by people like Commander Elvin and Helen protested as well. Anyway, we have so many new champions. Kelebel raised her arms and called out to them, we will just not watch it if it's not good. Let's check out the new champions. At this moment, a yell came from outside the Kanglan City shop, League of Legends. The Great Gulf is back. There was no response from the shop. Previously, some elves came out to watch. But right now, the elves were all checking out the new champions and had no time for other stuff. The being that entered the shop looked quite young, and he was dressed in black scale armor. However, his face was also covered in black dragon scales, which showed that he wasn't human. His face was vicious as he glanced around the shop. This figure spotted Mr. Fang, who was making a cup of cappuccino. At this moment, Fang Qi glanced back with a calm expression, but this newcomer knew that the shop owner would beat him if he did anything wrong. He instantly shrugged and turned quiet. I'm here to enter the League of Legends World Championship Series, and I have no time to mind these tiny humans. Then, this figure walked into the shop as if he was looking for someone. Although he seemed bold and brave, he was trembling in fear a little. Here. Here. A mage holding a bottle of Coke beckoned at him amiably. Gulf walked over in doubt, and his suspicion evaporated when he saw Swine beside the old mage. Then, he bought a membership card. Sit, Swine said mildly, choose some fitting champions and get yourself familiar with the game first. While pointing at the newly released update channel, he added, these are newly released champions, see if you can find a fitting one. On Swine's own screen, there was a wandering warrior who was playing a flute. Demon Dragon Gulf looked at Swine's screen in confusion and then at his own screen. Check out the new champions? Let the Great Gulf check them out, be careful, Swine said with a faint smile, the champions in the game are all powerful, don't get scared. Ha 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 ha. Demon Dragon Gulf let out a thunderous laugh. The Great Gulf has seen everything in the world. He thought for a while and told himself that the human who was stronger than him in the shop just made him a bit more aware, and he wasn't scared. His voice became louder. Don't underestimate me. The Great Gulf once even peed at the feet of the god of the Demon Dragon clan. Realizing that he had said something he shouldn't, Gulf immediately shut his mouth. The powerful champions whom you mentioned can't be stronger than gods. Then, he saw Orlion Soul, the Star Forger, who was also a dragon. This one looks good. Let me see if it's good enough to be picked by me. He chose to watch the introduction trailer of this champion. Good. Swine watched the trailer on his own screen and said indifferently, it's a good choice to have a champion that fits your species. Of course. Gulf said while he watched the trailer. At this moment, the scene before him began to change. The sky above the peak of the snow mountain should be dark and quiet. However, the radiant river of stars turned the gloomy sky dark purple. Heavy clouds reflected the starlights, turning the thin clouds to red and the thick clouds to pitch black with a dim white tint at the edges. Red, white, purple, and black decorated the sky full of stars like rainbows, looking as beautiful as a dream. A deep and ancient voice that was even and mild seemed to engulf the entire starry sky and the earth. No matter what planet, no matter what galaxy, they always look up and wonder. In the dreamlike starry sky, time seemed to be drifting and space was distorting when a vague dragon paw condensed in the universe. The huge dragon claw seemed to block half of the sky while stars and a nebula gathered in its palm. At this moment, Gulf seemed to forget to breathe with the illusion that the dragon claw could even crush gods to death as if they were ants. With its huge dragon head, Gulf couldn't imagine how majestic this dragon would be. Countless blazing white flames gathered continuously in the vague dragon claw like a black hole sucking in lights for destruction. Gulf seemed to see that the flames condensed into a dark core in the dragon claw. Then, the dark core exploded and gave birth to an extremely radiant golden star. At this moment, the vague shape of the dragon head appeared in the void while its body winded behind it like high mountains for more than tens of thousands of kilometers. Some fall to their knees and worship, others hide behind walls and towers. But the thing they do best is beg for mercy. Gulf's golden pupils bulged while his whole face looked like that of a fish out of water. It's just adorable. As the huge claw tightened its grip, the star in the Dragon King's palm exploded again. It was crumbled. It turned into a puff of radiant fireworks in the starry night. Have you found a fitting new champion? Beside him, Swine was also looking for new champions for himself. Suddenly, he saw a huge champion Cho'Gath, the terror of the void. TL note, Cho'Gath's nickname in China is Big Bug. If you haven't found one, this champion might fit you. His words were received by silence. Swine frowned and patted Gulf who was sitting beside him. Stop watching. Check this champion out. There was still no response. Gulf. Feeling that something wasn't right, Swine pushed harder. Thud. Immediately, the idle elves saw this scene and yelled, "Ah! Sir! Bad news! A dragon passed out in fear." What? A dragon passed out in fear? Where? Let me see. Many idle customers in the internet cafe walked up to watch. Beside them, Elder Sewell nodded and said, "I saw such dragons before. Usually, black dragons of this age have level 8 or level 9 strength. It probably hasn't reached adulthood yet and is definitely not a powerful dragon." Obviously, Elder Sewell was knowledgeable, and her words were convincing. At most, he is at the early stage saint level, no higher. Lying on the ground, this black dragon twitched his ears and heard the people's comments the moment he woke up. Cowardly. Not powerful at all. Perhaps he hasn't reached adulthood. Do you know what a horrifying existence the Great Gulf is? The black dragon got up from the ground and roared. Sparks flew out from his mouth. If that great Dragon King isn't an existence greater than God's, the Great Gulf wouldn't have been overwhelmed by its presence. If you saw that great existence crush a sun with one hand, you would end up worse than me. Demon Dragon Gulth yelled. Crushing a sun is no big deal. Sala said with a snort, when we played the Legend of Sword and Fairy 4, we saw an ancient god shooting down 9 suns. Yet, we even used his Ho Yi sun shooting bow. Beside her, Rowling yelled, Humph! There's nothing to be afraid of. You. Surrounded by a group of people, it seemed like Demon Dragon Gulth was going to argue with them to the end of time. While pointing at the elves, he accused angrily, Yesterday, the Great Gulth scared you unconscious. You have no right to judge me. We were not scared unconscious, one elf argued with a red face, I was knocked unconscious. You fainted due to fear, we all saw it. You cowardly elves! You cowardly dragon! Roar! Roar! Demon Dragon Gulth almost burst in rage. You could only use that god's bow. It's nothing to be proud of. Demon Dragon Gulth roared, Later, I will be able to control this great Dragon King's projected figure and learn its battle skills. Then, he glanced at the screen. The Star Forger Champion Gift Bag 99 crystals. I'll buy this champion gift bag right now. Demon Dragon Gulth roared. We'll buy it too, the elves said together. You, how can you buy it too? Demon Dragon Gulth looked at the elves incredulously. Boss, the newcomer dragon is arguing with the elves. Go and check it out. At this moment, Mr. Fang walked up through the crowd. Fang Qi heard that they were arguing about the purchase of gift bags, and he interjected. You have to argue about the purchases of gift bags. He waved his hand casually and said, This gift bag is for sale permanently, anyone can buy it. Then, he pointed at the bottom of the screen. This 288 Crystal Champion Skin gift bag is for sale for only 1 month. If you want to buy it, you must act quickly. There's a 288 Crystal Champion Skin gift bag. This looks more luxurious than the ordinary gift bag. Then, I'll buy this Star Forger Skin gift bag of 288 magic crystals. Gulth yelled. This will show the damn elves that the Great Gulth is nobler than them. Oh, this 288 crystal gift bag is expensive, Sala twisted her small hands in a dilemma. Although 288 magic crystals wasn't unaffordable for the elves, they bought many things each day. I have my eyes on several new champions and new skins, and I want to buy them all. It will cost too much if I buy the Star Forger skin gift bag too, I think so too. Beside her, Rowling also looked reluctant. Obviously, they were reasonable with their spending. Haha! Surprised. Seeing their reluctance, Gulth looked satisfied. As a great demon dragon lord, he couldn't bear the disdain from these weak elves. Humph! This 288 crystal gift bag is no big deal. We will buy several champion skin gift bags and even the Project Skin series. I'll buy them too. The Elementalist Lux, I'll buy it too. The Great Gulth couldn't allow the elves to look down on him. This Star Guardian, I'll buy it. Mr. Swine, have you told him that the percentages of skills he can learn from the champions depend on the degree of compatibility to his own talents? Seeing this scene, Hematon asked in a low voice. Swine was at a loss for words. Then, Hematon glanced at the elves, knowing that they didn't know about this. They just used the game as a regular mystical realm to practice their battle skills and didn't mind which champion they bought. Playing a compatible champion would make the game easier to play, and they could unleash more power. In fact, except for the pinnacle stage of Saint-level masters, the others just bought all the champions they wanted and tried them out to find the ones that they liked. Then, they would mainly play these champions. Therefore, regardless if they understood the considerations of the Saint-level masters, the effects were the same. Of course, right now, what Swine and Hematon were considering wasn't this but. By the way, Gulth just broke out from the seal. Where did he get the money? Hematon suddenly asked in a low voice, Mr. Swine, do you have, I just entered the world and don't have much money with me, Swine said mildly. Hematon said after thinking for a while, I've traveled on the continent for many years and always didn't regard money as important, I never take more than I need. These two instantly got offline and stood up. Oh, Mr. Gulth, we've used up the 10-hour limit for today. We'll leave now. Oh, okay. Gulth, who was busy checking out the champions and skins with dizzy eyes and enjoying the gazes from others, waved his hand casually. 10 minutes later Gulth patted his money bag. Then, he turned his head and saw hundreds of pairs of eyes staring at him. His whole face turned stiff. The boisterous shop instantly turned silent. He looked around and couldn't find Swine or Hematon. After a long while, with great embarrassment, he mustered the dignity of a demon dragon and said, I'm a demon dragon from the prehistoric times, and I'm in urgent need of magic crystals to buy these gift bags in League of Legends. Anyone who lends me with over 20 magic crystals will get a share of my treasures when I find the treasures that I hid in the ancient times. Get out. Out. What are you talking about? A pair of golden dragon eyes instantly glared over. Ayo. Let's get away. Joseph's mother pulled her son from the crowd and whispered, you see? That dragon obviously didn't go online until today. If you don't learn stuff online, you'll end up as a good-for-nothing, just like that dragon. Right. Right. Beside them, Ron's mother encouraged in a low voice, son, work hard online. Gulth's vision dimmed, and he almost passed out in fury. Then, the youths, such as Joseph and Ron, got busy. Mom. I want to buy the Project Skin Series gift bag, Ron said in a loud voice, I want to learn saber techniques from Uncle Yasuo. Then, we'll buy this Project Skin Series gift bag. Mom, Ron's mom bought him the Project Skin Series gift bag. I want to buy the Project Z gift bag. Beside them, Joseph said. I want to buy the Blind Monk gift bag. A young man about the same age as them said in a loud voice. I want to buy the new champion Yin, he is super cool with his gun thing. The parents smiled at them affectionately and encouragingly. No problem. You can have them all. Ron's dad even said, Ron, if you can reach gold, I'll buy you the latest model of the new communication Jade. While League of Legends went popular in the shops, a TV series was also warmly received by the viewers. It was popular not only in the East Continent and the continent of Immortal Relics but also in the new shop at Kanglan City as well. As the Turbulent Homeland 1 ended and the Turbulent Homeland 2 began, the war in the human world had just ended. One after another, the ultimate human martial art masters engaged in top-level battles. On the Sky Ethereal Peak, all the battles came to an end after the two techniques, Heaven's Witness and the Snow White Sword, clashed into each other. Behind the battle was the life of a warrior who had stunned an entire generation. Countless heroic figures and exquisite martial art techniques had just begun to show their stunning radiance, adding magnificence and beauty to the arena of the mortal world. However, at this moment, a true god with an ultimate lofty position and immortality turned his cold gaze toward the human world from the heaven realm that only existed in the legends. Qi Tiandi was born in the heaven realm. Proud and self-disciplined, he was the most powerful martial god in the godly palaces of the heaven realm. Like the sun bringing light to the land, he subdued all the demons and conflicts in the unknown universe space, bringing peace to the world. With one thought, people could turn godly or demonic. This lofty and emotionless immortal existence was tired of the fights for power and killings in the mortal world. Whenever he looked down on the mortal world from his palace, he always wondered why the heavenly gods tolerated these evil deeds. In his opinion, these filthy and selfish beings didn't deserve defense from the heavenly gods. So came the following story. His robe as white as a lotus flower transformed into a battle robe as black as ink. He turned into the most powerful demon god. Finally, he decided to destroy the entire filthy mortal world. Humans wouldn't know their insignificance and ignorance if they didn't have a taste of the despair of doom. No one could stop him, not even gods. Then, heavenly punishment, came. Having tried new skins and new champions, the customers in the Zhuhua City shop, Yuanyang City shop, and Kanglan City shop began to watch the new TV series which had come to the end of the second season. As the huge suspense became greater, the viewers sat down to watch the latest episodes as soon as they were released today. Even the cloud viewers of the famous streamers such as Mr. Dirk and the ordinary streamers such as Dikas of the Magic Union were waiting for the live stream of the episodes shown on the big screens in the shops at night. Hey? What's it with everyone? Gulf was playing his newly bought Dragon King to gain league points, LP, in ranked games. During the process, he encountered a happy Yasuo who dashed around the minions for no reason, a Zed who fed the enemies non-stop, a blind monk who kept kicking away enemies with low HP, and a Yin who was the enemy's ATM. These players had all bought new skins. Ah! I'm so furious. The Black Dragon was so angry that he almost destroyed the keyboard. Glancing around with his golden eyes, he tried to see if anyone around him was playing any of these champions. If they did, he would go up and beat them. At this moment, he found that the customers sitting around him had paused playing League of Legends and were doing something else. From others' screens, he could only see a poster saying that the new TV series was only shown to paying customers before the public live stream at 8 p.m. Besides, they let out loud exclamations again and again, distracting him from playing League of Legends. Hey! You! Tell the Great Gulf what is this thing that you are watching so fervently? Harrison, one of the leaders of the Assassin Brotherhood, was watching the new TV series. He turned his head and saw a black half-dragon and half-human face and a pair of chilly golden eyes staring at him coldly like a demon looking down on the human world. Undoubtedly, any humans, even the saint-level masters, would shiver involuntarily when they saw these horrifying eyes since they seemed to symbolize a prehistoric catastrophe. Aha, it is the bragging dragon. Harrison said casually. Who's the bragging dragon? Gulf roared fiercely. Then, have you found your treasures? Other people looked at him with a funny expression on their faces. I found several hiding places for my treasures. Gulf roared, those damn adventurers. All my treasures were stolen by those damn adventurers. Are your treasure hiding places called Gutton's secret vault? A girl who appeared to be a young noble lady asked. How did you know? The young noble lady took out a novel about knights and replied, it's written in the book. Bragging dragon. Do you think that we never read this book before? The surrounding people all looked at him and laughed. Several aristocratic ladies passed him with their children and immediately instructed them, when you grow up, remember never to act like this dragon. He is lazy online and doesn't even know the most popular new TV series. What new TV series? How come I don't know about it? Glancing at Harrison's screen, he saw that the latter was watching the end of the 46th episode of the second season. Instantly, he activated the 46th episode and shouted, I've come to this episode too. The Great Gulf is low-profiled. Unlike you, I don't yell and scream while I watch it. Then, he began to watch as well. The alternate dimensional demon realm created by Qi Tiandi made him want to descend in the mortal world and destroy it. On the other hand, the ruler of the sense realm wanted to plant evil spirits of the sense realm into human bodies and occupy the mortal world. Therefore, humans were stuck between the two forces which ruined the mortal world with endless disasters and horrifying catastrophes. If the mortal world was destroyed, the sense realm wouldn't be able to occupy it, so the two demon gods also fought each other. Godly power subdues all regions, and thunder and lightning must give way to it. Lightning bolts shot down like beams, and flames poured down like rain. A big figure seemed to appear from the endless dark abyss. Evil lights appeared first, and 5 lightning bolts dropped. At the same time, an extremely grand voice echoed across the world. Rule the land as a conqueror, and suppress all heroes as the pride of heaven. Hiss! This being. Gulf widened his eyes as he looked at the demon god which seemed to come from the world of fierce ghosts. Emitting chilly and evil presence totally different from that of the mortal world, it appeared with an arrogance that stunned the world. This was definitely not the presence of humans. With only one look, Gulf felt the horror of this presence, which only the evilest demon gods could possess. When the booted feet landed on the ground, explosions appeared as if the land couldn't bear this great force. Boom! Crack! My demon dragon god, demon dragon Gulf exclaimed in a low voice, the ground explodes with each step it takes. Immediately, he covered his mouth and looked around, seeing several people staring at him. Why are you staring at me? Demon Dragon Gulf said while sparks flew out of his mouth. Look! The great Gulf feels nothing when watching the so-called gods and demons. You guys yelled so much when you watched it. This demon god appeared, but I'm not afraid of it at all. I even want to eat a spicy stick. Roar! Roar! After picking up a spicy stick, he waved it at the people who were staring at him as if he was showing them that the Great Gulf wasn't a cowardly dragon. You guys slandered me. Although Gulf couldn't afford to buy all the skins for the time being, as a prehistoric demon dragon, he had enough money to buy spicy sticks. Everyone turned their heads back and continued to watch the TV series. At this moment, above the endless void and at the end of space and time, there was a radiant golden godly palace which was as dazzling as the sun. With winding creeks running through, it had pillars as tall as the sky. From the radiant palace, the loftiest existence cast a gaze at the mortal world. The homeland of humans sunk. With the sky pillars destroyed, the sky had collapsed. The barrier between gods and humans had a huge crack in it. A part of this being's senses and strength descended to the mortal world. Saint Demon Vital Embryo, it was the body that Qi Tiandi made for himself in the mortal world. Like an erupting volcano, he spat out a horrifying and destructive demonic force. The sun and the moon vanished from the world as if everything had entered the complete dark chaos. A grand demon god figure that was as huge as a great mountain was slowly injected into the vital embryo. Dressed in a black robe that had unworldly magnificence, he looked dignified with the highest nobleness. While raising his hands as if embracing the rising sun, he looked at the filthy mortal world with disdain and cold solemnness. This ultimate martial god had also descended in the mortal world. Landing lightly on his toes, the moment that this demon god touched the world, the land couldn't take its heavenly force and instantly lost balance. Catastrophic storms swept up with vicious force. Violent gusts blew up his long hair and revealed his face, so perfect that one would think it wasn't supposed to be a part of this world. Like shock waves of nuclear explosions, winds instantly devoured everything in the whole world, including the humans, demons, and beings from the sense realm. Regardless if they were masters or average mortals, no matter what cultivation strength they had, they all exploded into bloody foam. The land under his feet cracked and then collapsed. Crack! An earth-shaking explosion came. It was the sound of earth breaking open. Boom! Sea water surged up for tens of thousands of meters with booming sounds. These were the roars of the ocean. Meteorites fell on land, huge mountains collapsed, and lava gushed out from underground. Everything in the mortal world was being destroyed. This was the doomsday that no one could resist or escape. At this moment, the viewers felt their minds turning blank. Their minds were completely occupied by this horrifying sight and couldn't contain anything else. Even one glance of this sight gave them a deep sense of despair as if the endless darkness had devoured their bodies and souls. This was the most shocking scene in the mortal world and the saddest elegy for humans. Before such a power, no one had the slightest intention to resist. However, facing such giant and destructive horror, the other demon god moved. Thunderstorm condensed on the ancient and heavy halberd with forces of yin-yang and thunder. The lights from the halberd and lightning bolts tore open the darkness in the world, and the halberd shot out the moment that Qi Tiandi landed in the mortal world. Evil lightning bolts exploded with a dazzling gloomy light, and then they bounced back abruptly. At this moment, Qi Tiandi seemed to have just injected his awareness from the heaven realm into his vital embryo. He slowly opened his eyes. He was motionless. No wind could flutter his clothes. His gaze landed on the entire mortal world as if he spared no attention to the other demon god standing before him, and he said indifferently, "The mortal world got filthy again." The halberd waved in the sky, condensing blazing flames and flashing lightning bolts. Anything entered would be destroyed. Like a horrifying vortex, true lightning energy stirred ultimate blazing sun energy current into the halberd. The ultimately firm and bright essence was locked into one point in the halberd as soon as it was waved. It condensed into one. At this moment, Qi Tiandi lightly launched a palm strike. "You did your best, small god in the mortal world." The heavenly presence collapsed as if the sky was falling. In the next moment, everyone saw Xian Mo, the demon god with unrivaled power, fly backward as its physical body was destroyed instantly. It died without a fight. At this moment, not only Gulf but all the other viewers opened their mouths wide as if they wanted to scream with great horror but couldn't since their chests were squished by a huge mountain or a hand was strangling their throats. They couldn't let out even a whimper, they couldn't even breath. At this moment, all of them felt horrified and felt like they were tiny ants. "As a dragon, how come you're so cowardly?" Gulf immediately shut up and looked around cautiously. Sure enough, everyone was watching the TV series earnestly and motionlessly. None of them screamed in fear. Gulf turned silent. Then, he glanced at Swine and Hematon who were sitting across from him. They were also silent. "Is the great Gulf the most cowardly one?" I'm going to the bathroom." Demon Dragon Gulf yelled. Then, with a hand on the chair to support his weight, he slowly stood up. At this moment, Swine and Hematon, who were sitting across from Gulf, exchanged a look. Their feet under the desks were making thudding sounds. They shivered uncontrollably. "Mr. Swine, can you get up?" Swine's expression didn't change. "Not now." Fang Qi had only 3-day access to the system's new cultivation room which had been reopened. In the cultivation room, the figures that he knew as well as his own hands gradually became alive and then dimmed out one by one. Saber, sword, and other kinds of weapons shone brightly with their unique lights. Then, a dignified and noble figure dressed in a luxurious black robe gradually solidified before him and waved his hands. God's hand. God's vortex. God's thunder. With a dark expression, Mr. Fang fell instantly. The cultivation ended. Synchronization rate, 0% technique synchronization rate, 0% experience points obtain, 0 Who, Mr. Fang exhaled deeply. Lately, Fang Qi live-streamed and cultivated in the morning and continued cultivation in the afternoon and during the night almost every day. Unlike before, he no longer used his free time on entertainment or leisure outings. A pale blue crescent decorated the pitch-black nightly sky. It was late in the night. While wiping sweat off his forehead, he took out a bottle of Coke and gulped it down. In this late hour, Fang Qi communication beeped unexpectedly. The message came from the shop in Zhuhua City. Upon walking into the Zhuhua City shop, he saw some young people soundly asleep with their heads on the computer desks. The high-level cultivators such as An Huey walked over immediately when they saw Fang Qi. "Why are they sleeping here?" Mr. Fang asked. They were mostly disciples of Ling Yun Academy, including Song Qing Feng and Xi Qi. Su Zixin and other girls were also here. "Come here and check this out." Nalan Mingxiu beckoned at him. "Tell me what you think of this promotional video." With that said, she opened a newly made video on her computer. Since they could buy related programs and software in Xone, it wasn't impossible for them to make videos. However, it wasn't easy for them who thought of nothing but combat techniques and cultivation strength. In fact, Mr. Fang was surprised since he had expected that they would give up after a while. The first thing that he saw in the video was a pale blue butterfly flying by. The snow-white scene had a cleanness unique to girls. Then, there were more colors. With the background music named Time Boils the Rain, the images and clips from every game appeared on the screen in some clumsy and bland manner. The wind blows, and the rain becomes flowers. In a calm and bland tone, the video told a story about their first encounter with Resident Evil that year. Also, they had created many heroic stories of their own in Diablo. Excitement flashed in their eyes at the first sight of the sword control technique, but the sadness and melancholy replaced the excitement at the end of the game. The scenes of guilds gathering and battling in the royal city in The Legend of Mir 2 were still fresh in their minds. They felt like it was only yesterday when a group of people wildly slammed the buttons and swung the joysticks while playing the King of Fighters in the arcane game room in Mr. Fang's zone. They experienced the thrill when Dungeon Fighter Online opened the first server and the shock in the first PvP battle in the dojo. For the first time, the second time, the third time, they met players from all over the world and became friends. Then, in the world that was even bigger named World of Warcraft, they met so many friends from the West Continent for the first time. Like stories in a long scroll, they recorded their joys, touching moments, coming of new friends, and parting of old ones. The stories ended with group photos imprinted in their memories. If they looked carefully, they might be able to find one or two familiar faces and the pure and sincere smiles. Heavy snow, I beg you, please don't erase the traces of our past. The heavy snow can't erase the memory that we left for each other. Looking at these immature people sleeping carelessly on the computer desks in the internet cafe. No, time flew, and they could no longer be called immature people even though they were still young. The young people in the past had shed their youthful clumsiness, and in its place was a maturity belonging to adults. Perhaps they were tired. With a smile, Mr. Fang realized that he had known these people for years without noticing it. What's the hurry? We can have events anytime you want. We can have events anytime we want, but if we miss a certain day, we'll have to wait for another year. Mr. Fang looked baffled. What day? Nalan Mingxiu looked at him curiously. You don't know? No, Mr. Fang glanced at the familiar faces. It's just 1 year, it's not like you have to wait for hundreds of years. He yawned and was obviously fatigued. Go get some rest, there are many extra rooms in my shop. He pointed at the young people who were sleeping on the desks and said, don't sleep here, you will all catch colds. By the way, what activities have you planned? You'll know when it's time. Nalan Mingxiu looked at the dark sky outside the shop, and her bright eyes seemed to merge into the depths of the starry night. She looked back at the screen, and an indescribable melancholy rose in her heart. For one moment, she wished that the stories they had compiled could be longer. These were their stories of youth even though the people in the stories mostly began at high points and gradually turned average, just like her. However, no one said that they couldn't praise and appreciate average people. At this moment, together with Yu's Highway, Xiao Yulv and other staff, Mr. Fang and these people carried these men and women, sleeping like logs, to the rooms. Suddenly, Song Qing Feng jumped up from his chair and shouted, "Wow! Pentakill! Pentakill? Where's the pentakill? Where?" With a shiver, they all woke up and looked over with keen interest. Chapter 809 Official Partnership, Secret Big Prizes Await You. The younger generation led by Li Haoran in the Wu Videist Alliance had studied the new stuff for a long time. The video wasn't only completed, it had a high quality. Apart from this, these cultivators also spent lots of time and energy on researching the new communication jade. The current communication jade not only could connect with QQ and live streams but also could access websites and the post bar. At least, people could easily use the simple functions on the communication jade. Right now, they were studying how to use the array engravings and spiritual artifacts to copy the functions of the smartphones in the games. At this moment, Li Haoran held a small array disk with complicated engraved arrays in one hand and a program language book in another. Then, a message popped up on his communication jade. The planning of the event is done. In the Heavenly Faction at the East Continent a new event. The most productive time of the day was the morning, and most factions in the continent of the Immortal Village, East Continent, and the continent of immortal relics had the tradition of doing morning cultivation. The sun rose in the east, and the purple essence from the east was beneficial to the cultivators who were accumulating essence. It was dawn. In the heavenly faction, elder senior sister Yu Yin walked toward the faction square with a newly purchased communication jade in her hand. She was engrossed in the content in it. "Oh, senior sister? You bought this new communication jade too?" Beside her, a junior sister who was about 15 years and had a bun asked in surprise. "Yet." She touched the screen of the thin communication jade in her palm to browse the post bar. "I'm reading the top post." The junior sister also took out her communication jade. Pinned post? Official partnership event? Memories of bygone years. Hey? It's posted in all the big post bars. I'll check it out. At this moment, many players in the old shops such as the Half City Shop and Yuanyang City Shop also noticed this new event. Event time: 9 a.m. March 28th. Isn't it today? It was 6 a.m., and Gu Tingyun was sitting in his courtyard. While sipping iced red tea, he read the message in the post bar on his communication jade. Official partnership event. Until now, the shop hadn't hosted many events. The only one that Gu Tingyun participated in was the StarCraft World Championship Series, in which he had won a golden spiritual boat that was called a Corsair, and it was now parked on the side of the cliff. Gu Tingyun had been sipping tea leisurely. When he saw the message, he instantly sat up from his armchair. A new event. But what does official partnership event mean? He continued to read. This event is sponsored by the Origins Internet Club. The prizes are provided by Origins Internet Club and the organizer. The event venue is the special virtual event venue in Xone of the Origins Internet Club. This event will be broadcasted live in the official livestream channel. The players who can't participate in this event may enter the activity quiz of this event through the new communication jade and win special prizes. This event, Gu Tingyun looked at his communication jade and murmured, "It seems bigger than the last in previous years." In the past events, the players who didn't participate in the competitions were viewers, and they had to bring their own snacks and drinks. But in this event, the viewers would be able to participate in the so-called activity quiz and win good prizes. Then, he read on. Participants of the event have the opportunity to draw red packets that contains membership cards with game time from 1 to 10 hours. Zhang Xiaoyu was also reading the post on the communication jade with widened eyes. The opportunity to win a big gift bag of snacks in the shop. She covered her small mouth with her small hand while her eyes opened wide. My goodness! A big snack gift bag! In the past, even when she obtained a good rank in the activities hosted by the shop owner, she used to get only a small bag of snacks. It was infuriating. But in this new event, even the people who didn't win a good rank had the chance to get a big gift bag of snacks. I'll participate in the event. Xiaoyu, who was still in the heavenly faction as an exchange student, exclaimed immediately. Then, what are the prizes for the winners? Eagerly, she continued to read. The winners will receive a big mystery gift bag provided by Mr. Fang. The first place in the comprehensive ranking will get a mystery prize handpicked by the shop owner. It must be noted that the players in the new shops at the East Continent and the West Continent had never participated in the shop's activities before. The artifact masters of the heavenly faction in the East Continent and the mages and dwarven craftsmen in the West Continent were especially envious of the players in the old shops for their prizes, like the Corsair spiritual boat, gauze gun, and rune words, etc. When the East Continent cultivators, who were just getting into Jade Dynasty recently, heard that a female cultivator in the Zhuhua City shop had gotten the Black Snow Immortal Sword, they were green with envy. Let's see the contents of this event. Sitting cross-legged, Elder Xiao Yunhe of the Heavenly Faction was now doing his morning cultivation and deep breathing. A streak of purple essence entered with the pale golden morning sunlight that shined in. He had a communication jade in his hands. Inhale. Exhale. Let me check out the content of this event. Inhale. Without thinking, he read it out aloud, the first activity. Ready Musician 1. Dungeon Fighter Online, The Legend of Sword and Fairy, World of Warcraft, League of Legends. Which piece of music in the games is your favorite? Do you practice singing or instruments privately? Please sing or play it. The player with the highest points will receive Mr. Fang's Big Mystery Gift Bag. The other participants with good ranks will each receive the latest model of communication jade which hasn't been released in the market yet. This type of communication jades contains the Yuan Alliance's latest spiritual artifact technology which can break illusion spells and achieve facial recognition of the owners. Hiss, there's such a communication jade. But it seems like I'm not fit for this activity. After a moment of consideration, Xiao Yunhe continued reading. The second activity, Memories Hidden in Your Heart. Write down the incident that touched you the most in the games, and it is better if you have pictures to go with the writing. The winner will receive a big mystery gift bag provided by Mr. Fang. The other participants with good ranks will each receive a mimic of godly items, including the Tianya Godly Sword, 7 Tribulation Dragon Slaying Sword, Sky River Sword, and 7-star sword created by the Yuan Alliance. The third activity, Ready Player 1. It's time to show off the true skills. Do you want to prove that you're a true core player? Let's search for the high-level skills or Easter eggs in the games. Each player can choose only one game. The winners and the second place will receive the same prizes as above. Mr. Fang will provide 2 prizes for this activity and only 1 for the other activities. The other participants with good ranks will receive mimics of a classic item in the corresponding game or all skins for all champions in the new game League of Legends. The number 1 in the comprehensive ranking will get a mystery prize handpicked by Mr. Fang. Are you ready? Come and get the big mysterious gifts. Xiao Yunhe looked at this event thoughtfully. I'll participate in the third activity. Through Xone, all the customers could enter the event zone which could accommodate over 100,000 people and give the viewers a seat number automatically. As for the people who couldn't enter the event zone or couldn't even get online due to the large number of customers, they could watch the event through the official livestream platform. People could get 1,000 penguin beans by logging into the livestream platform, and they could win more penguin beans through betting on their favorite contestants. The penguin beans could be eventually used to redeem gifts. Sala glanced at the gift shop and saw that some items were placed at the most prominent positions. The Sky outfit, the rare outfit that no one can get anymore in Dungeon Fighter Online. All skins of all champions in League of Legends. The Collector's Edition game gift bag that contains 10 classic games. There was a group of other dazzling gifts under them. At the bottom was the consolation prize of 1 hour game time which could be bought with only 1 penguin bean, limited to 1 for each player. TL note, QQ's logo is a penguin, and the currency that it uses is called penguin bean. The elves exchanged a look of excitement. Is the shop owner giving away gifts at a great cost to himself? The shop owner always gives us discounts and free stuff. I'm a little uncomfortable taking them, Rowling mumbled. What are you talking about? Alina from the Assassin Brotherhood and some knights from the Golden Griffin Knight Legion had just acquired the tickets to the new event in Xone, and they came over to buy instant noodles and beverages when they suddenly heard these comments. What are you talking about? We were saying that the shop owner had been giving us many gifts lately, the elves said uneasily, seeing so many gifts from him this time, I think we should give him some gifts too in return. You think so too? Helen said in surprise. I think so too. Daikas said from nearby. What should we give him then? Since the event hadn't begun yet, they took the time to discuss. With many viewers coming to the event, the venue was bursting with people. The players who had registered for the activities thronged in the shops. However, as the planner of this event, Nalan Minxu wasn't a careless person. Before the participants took seats, they received a questionnaire which had different questions for different shops. Sala, still in the discussion, also received it. Participation Qualifier Questionnaire. Sala read the questionnaire in her communication jade. The first question. In League of Legends, one champion is closely related to Assassin's Creed. He likes to say, "Hey? League of Legends? Assassin's Creed." Sala looked at the questionnaire and read the question again before glancing the four answers. A. In Carnage, I bloom, like a flower in the dawn. B. Don't you trust me? C. Live and die by the blade. D. You'd wish the world you know to end. Yes, this question, Sala thought for a second. It's not difficult for me. She quickly chose an answer and read the next question. In World of Warcraft, which of the following plays is correct? You may choose more than one answer. A. When a warrior cast a taunt, shouting "Hey! Bastard!" B. A mage casts polymorph on an enemy with low HP. C. When cornered, a paladin jumps off the cliff and casts Holy Shield on himself. D. Sell shining silver breastplate for 5 gold pieces. This, Sala and other elves rubbed their foreheads. Let me think. Before the event began, all the shops were quiet. Obviously, everyone was busy answering questions. As the technical director, Li Haoran sat before a computer with a solemn expression. As the producer, Mr. Fang sat next to him. Li Haoran said, "This is the first automatic grading program made by our WuVi Alliance. But we tested it many times, and I'm sure it will be fine." Soon, Sala received a prompt. "Oh. I got 87 points. I passed. I got 91 points. I passed too." Rowling said in pleasant surprise. "I got 90. Nearby, Alina was feeling smug. Then, they exclaimed in joy, "Does it mean that we can enter the event that will grant us prizes? Look! I think the event is beginning." In pleasant surprise, Sala pointed at the huge stage in the center that looked dazzling under the illumination of lights. In a series of passionate cheers, 2 figures floated down from the depths of the fireworks in the sky. Time is like a song. Time flies. Dressed in a bright green long dress, the alluring and cute woman on the left said, "It has been years since we worked together last time." Standing beside her was an ethereal-looking woman dressed in snow-white clothes. Her beautiful eyes glanced around as she said, "Indeed. It has been years since we met last time. But we meet again today in another big venue with a big crowd. We thank all the Deist friends who squeezed out time from your busy schedules to attend this event." Fairy Qingyun slightly bowed. "Fairy Qingyun, are you thrilled now?" Ning Bai asked her teasingly. Fairy Qingyun patted her chest and said, "I'm excited. In fact, I didn't expect that there would be so many people here." Ning Bai looked reminiscent. "I remember that the people in the last event was less than 1/4 of the current audience, right?" "Right." Fairy Qingyun nodded and said, "I thought that it was a huge crowd. But from the looks of it, I was too naive back then. Of course, this event has even bigger prizes than before." Ning Bai said, "But we can tell you that today's event is extraordinary. It has a special meaning." Fairy Qingyun said with a nod, "For now, we'll keep this special meaning a secret." Then, she continued, "In fact, I've been envious of Deist friend Ning Bai. Do you know why? The Legend of Mir 2, Dungeon Fighter Online, The Legend of Sword and Fairy, World of Warcraft, League of Legends. Having played all of them, Deist friend Ning Bai must have experienced much more unforgettable moments than I did. There are also many unforgettable songs. Which is your favorite, Fairy Qingyun?" Ning Bai asked. I like the songs in The Legend of Sword and Fairy, especially Immortal Dream." "Oh, the next song is probably related to The Legend of Sword and Fairy," Ning Bai said. "Let's welcome Elder Su Tianji up to the stage." Then, they left the stage gracefully. "Hey! Elder Su! I wonder if she will fall to the ground on her face when she lands," people talked among themselves animatedly. Maybe a chest will appear and eat Elder Su. A large group of haters brought up her shameful past. At this moment, immortal clouds surged among the rising immortal mountains in the background of the stage while ethereal singing sounded. Qianhua heavenly light suddenly appeared, and sword energies reached the heavens from Shu Mountain, showcasing the out-of-reach human Dao and the vast immortal Dao. For a moment, the viewers felt like they had returned to the immortal factions. In the ocean of clouds, Guhan music floated out while a crisp voice sang the song. It sounded like pearls dropping on a jade plate. Sitting in the clouds, a fairy brushed the strings of the Guhan with her pretty fingers while she sang with a melodious voice. In a bamboo hat, I quietly wait for the light to come through the clouds in the mist and breeze. Listening to the ethereal Sanking Ethereal's teaching and hearing Buddha's words. TL note, Sanking is a deity in Daoism. Changing fate with one hand and restoring the universe with the other. Daoist or monk, why bother with the difference? Chapter 811 Faction Master, please listen to my explanation. With youthful arrogance, a young man dares to accuse the heaven and the earth of unkindness. Regardless if it's a blessing of opportunities or a root of catastrophes, accompanied by the crisp Guhan musical notes, the singing turned firmer and more passionate, bringing the audience back to the world in the mist. They seemed to see the stirring scene in which that young man flew on a sword and heard that shout from the depths of the clouds, "I'm in control of my destiny, not the heavens." Yuhang Town, Immortal Spirit Island. Yong'an Pawnshop, Ancient Zhang Nation. Greenbird Peak, Rock Creek Cave. The past scenes flashed in their minds. Perhaps, those young people had grown up, and the past stories grew old as time went by, just like the girls in their memories. When they looked back, they had aged, and the stories might have lost the previous colors under the corrosion of time. However, when they carefully thought back, they still remembered the thrill and amazement that they had felt at the first sight of the game. Time indeed could dim people's defiance and smooth out their edges, but even when their hair turning grey with age, they would have tears in their eyes when they recalled their passionate deeds in their youthful years. Great! Excellent! Elder Xiao Yunhe from the heavenly faction clapped his hands and said, "Well said." With youthful arrogance, a young man dares to accuse the heaven and the earth of unkindness. He remembered that when they were young, they also had the audacity to compete with heaven with their sharp swords. With higher cultivation strength, we're less daring than before, Xiao Yunhe lamented while shaking his head. Is she really Elder Su? Sitting in the back of the audience stand, the elves raised their heads and stared at the white-clothed woman who was playing Guhan on the stage. She looked as if she had walked out of a painting. Obviously, the elves had watched Elder Su's live streams many times. They had even watched her encounter with the treasure chest monster in Dark Souls. Did the shop owner secretly change the singer? One elf yelled in a low voice. Isn't she an entertainment streamer? Singing seems to be a type of entertainment, another elf reminded in a weak voice. You're right, but it's really pleasant. The elves perked up their ears and listened in fascination. Although the song was in another language, they could manage to understand the words now. Yay! This song is super good! Sala exclaimed, how come I've never heard it before? They said that it's in QQ Music in Xone. There are many good songs on it. Right. Right. I heard from Swexu that the hostess in the green dress could even sing. Glorious time. It's super good. In the Zhuhua City shop after the song, Su Tianji returned to her seat and put down her virtual reality headset with a sigh of relief. Done. Nearby, Mr. Fang, who was supervising the staffs, looked at her dumbfoundedly. You were good, of course. I know everything from heaven to earth, Song Qing Feng replied. That's old Xiao's line, Sister Su. What? That brat learned it from me. With a blush, Su Tianji immediately corrected herself. I excel in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. It's a piece of cake for me to sing a song and play the Guhan. She glanced around and said, I'm starving, do you guys have food? Didn't you just have a bowl of instant noodles this morning? Mr. Fang asked in surprise. How is a small bowl of instant noodles enough? Su Tianji didn't realize the growth of her appetite. Today, the staff have prepared special boxed meals from Wind and Moon Pavilion. Good, Su Tianji stood up immediately. I'll go and get a boxed meal then. Meanwhile, on the stage in Xon, both hostesses, Ning Bai and Fairy Qing Yun, landed on the stage again. Oh! I was thrilled when I listened to the song downstage. Fairy Qing Yun took a deep breath and said feelingly. Fairy Qing Yun, I think you've played The Legend of Sword and Fairy, right? With a small smile which revealed her small white canine tooth, Ning Bai turned her head to Fairy Qing Yun and asked. I've played all 3 games of the Legend of Sword and Fairy series. With a knowing expression, Fairy Qing Yun said, I liked them the moment that I began playing them. She continued, at the end of each game, I especially wanted to mail a knife to the so-called soft star but didn't know how. If you find out how to mail the knife, Ning Bai joked, you must add the knives for the players sitting in the audience stand. Just kidding. With a smile, Ning Bai looked around at the audience and said, now, it's time to check out the participants. The 2 hostesses leaned their heads together to read the name list, and they said in surprise, there are so many, it seems like many people have passed the questionnaire compiled by our Ms. Nalan and proved that they are really high-level players. However, it's not enough to be a good player, Ning Bai said with a charming smile, quite a lot of our players have many other talents. Then, let's see how good they are. Let's welcome the first group of participants from the Zhuhua City shop in the continent of immortal relics. It's said that this shop has many veteran players. Ning Bai looked at the young man whose face had a trace of classic elegance. He was followed by a group of people. They included a girl dressed in black clothes, and she had jade-like exquisite facial features. She was elder senior sister Mo Xian under Zika, spiritual master of the Nanhua faction. Standing beside her was the soft and gentle junior sister Yu Yan, who was dressed in a pale yellow blouse. There were a few other senior and junior brothers from their faction. What music are you planning to play today? Ning Bai asked with a smile, which song left a deeper impression in your mind? I think it should be Immortal Dream. Fairy Qing Yun guessed cheerfully. After all, it's one of the most classic songs in the Legend of Sword and Fairy. See, they even brought Erhu and Guhan. No, Mo Xian took over the microphone from her and said, today, we'll perform a more difficult song. Excellent! Cheers came from the audience. Hee hee ha 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 ha, in the seats for the heavenly faction, the elders commented in satisfaction, they indeed have youthful arrogance. Good. In the seats for the cultivators of the Nanhua faction. The faction master looked at the Zika spiritual master beside him and said in satisfaction, Junior sister, your disciples are all good, of course. Zika spiritual master smiled and then looked at Lu Ningyun, who was sitting next to her. Ningyun, why didn't you go with them? At this moment, shouts came from the center of the stage, I'm empty. I have an iron-like body. The Zika spiritual master stared at the center of the stage dumbfoundedly. With the Guhan in her arms, Mo Xian played it loudly. Then, Yu Yan walked up to stand beside her with an erhu, and she began to sing and play with the beats, I challenge. I dodge. I defend you with my body. They did it smoothly in one breath. Looking at the stage and then at the faction master sitting next to her, Zika spiritual master said, this. Senior brother, please listen to my explanation. Wah! This is awesome. This is awesome. Don't hesitate anymore. I haven't fallen yet. Almost all the audience began to sing with them, instantly lighting up the atmosphere from the stage to the audience stands. Hiss! Hey! The Nanhua faction master froze. Hee hee, the young people nowadays are so passionate. Junior sister Ziki. I think we'll at least secure a good position at the top. Oh, you taught them well, junior sister, really. The Zika spiritual master froze, thinking, I didn't teach them that. As the atmosphere on the stage turned warmer, the second activity started. After all, the players needed time to write down their most unforgettable memories for the second activity. Yay! They are singing I'm empty. At this moment, Sala and the other elves looked amazed while sitting on the audience stand. We'll sing in a moment as well. What are you going to sing? Beside them, Helen asked curiously. Now that they sang it, you can't get a high point if you sing the same song. Then, we'll sing, Sala said, seeking love in sword and fairies. Right. Right. Rowling exclaimed, when I played The Legend of Sword and Fairy 4, I loved this song. The problem is, no one can play Gukken. At this moment, Helen brought up a frustrating problem. You guys can only play the harp. TL note, Gukken and Guhen are similar but different instruments. I can play it. At this moment, Elder Swell took out a Gukken from somewhere. As an elf who loved music and arts passionately, she could play any musical instrument. Yay! We can sing Seeking Love in Sword and Fairies. The nearby knights from the Golden Griffin Knight Legion looked envious. Count us in. Me too. Look. Isn't he Mr. Harrison from the Brotherhood? At this moment, after the cultivators of the Nanhua faction left the stage, a middle-aged man with a weathered face came up with an instrument looking like a flute in his hand. The tunes that this instrument made were sad and deep with a trace of loneliness of a wanderer. Yasuo. The music-loving elves immediately recognized this. Hey? Is that a flute? Helen was also listening to the music. Hee. You don't know it, right? It's called shakuhachi. Sala showed off her knowledge smugly. It's said to be an ancient musical instrument that was introduced from the central region to the Dongying region. Regardless if they could play them or not, the elves obviously had knowledge on all kinds of musical instruments. Then, she wondered curiously, but, there's also the central region in the Legend of Sword and Fairy, and the story of the turbulent homeland also happened in the central region. Are they the same place? How come the people in this place didn't run into each other? Oh, the duel also happened in the central region. Perhaps it is like the continent of immortal relics and the continent of the immortal village, they have similar names but are in fact totally different places, Elder Sewell explained. Let's go, it's our turn. Elder, you registered this early. According to the rules, they could enter the competition together, but one could only compete once in the same activity. At this moment, Su Tianji returned with a box of food in her hands. While eating from the box, she watched the activities through her computer. Look! So many elves! She suddenly heard an exclamation. Where? Where? Su Tianji looked over while eating from the box and saw a large group of elves standing on the stage. What are they going to sing? Then, she heard notes of Gukken which flowed over like gurgling creek water. The elves opened their mouths. Tiny raindrops flew in the breeze, just like unending love. Snowflakes fall in the turbid yellow river, just like the sadness in unfulfilled love. Although they didn't prepare for it, the arts-loving elves sang as if they had rehearsed it countless times. Hey! Su Tianji stared at the screen and saw an elf playing the Gukken. Yet! Dong Qingli from the Wind and Moon Pavilion, who was responsible for staff's food, stared at the screen in amazement. Her eyes rolled as if she was calculating the odds of stealing 2 elves. There were so many elves, and she was sure the theft wouldn't be noticed. They can even sing this song. Song Qing Feng exclaimed, F***ck. Their pronunciation is excellent. They sing so well, these elves can even play Gukken. I'm surprised. In the Kanglan City shop, the dog-headed man stared at the stage dumbfoundedly. Awesome! Excellent! Mr. Fang was also staring at them, looking stunned. You guys are so talented! He thought sulkily, hiss, it seems like only I don't have other talents. Do you want to learn? Beside him, Su Tianji said while eating her box meal, I can teach you. Iya, Mr. Fang put his palm on his forehead, looking to be having a heartache. Sir! What do you think? Wasn't our performance good? After the elves got off the stage, they even sent a message to Mr. Fang. Mr. Fang replied, "How come you guys are so awesome? Hee hee, oh, asterisk." Besides this song, participants also played the little tune from Lion Pride in World of Warcraft and the harp music from Sirius Tavern in Dungeon Fighter Online. The fast and light or slow and soft music pieces brought them back to the moment when they first entered these miraculous and dreamy worlds. They still remembered the lively scenes in which countless players set out from the newbie village and gathered in the first town. The boisterous or soft sounds seemed to be lingering in the back of their minds. At this moment, the two hostesses got onto the stage again. Those performances are fantastic. Perhaps, for many people here, they are not only games. Perhaps we haven't played them for long. But I think most of our deist friends have the same feeling. In less than 10 years, which is quite short, our lives have been more fascinating than those dozens if not hundreds of years that we had lived. Yes, in this colorful life, we understand that we're not only being alive, Ning Bai said in a loud voice, we live happily and colorfully with a passionate love for the world we live in. We have killed demons while flying on swords, we have ventured into a grand continent that we had never seen before, we've seen demon gods who can destroy everything, and we've even become champions and heroes. These are our fascinating and glorious memories. We can tell everyone with a loud voice we love games, and we love life. We love this world with great passion. Then, I'd like to ask all the friends here, what's the most unforgettable thing in the depths of your memory? Regretful of what? Sword Saint Wilson looked at the stage and asked. Regretful that we came to this prosperous world too late. Looking at the players who were cheering thunderously all over the venue, Saint Lydon sighed, looking at them, I'm a bit envious. I'm not regretful. Sword Saint Wilson's vision seemed to have returned to that almost collapsed battleground. In the darkness, the warm light lit up the whole area. Without noticing it, his eyes turned blurry as if he was seeing that radiant light again. Arise, my champion! If there was a miracle, this was it. It's enough to hear this one sentence. You're right. Friend. The dwarf king sitting nearby raised a cup of wine and said loudly, we should write it down. This should be the most impressive sentence for us in World of Warcraft. Lydon shrugged and replied, it's a pity that I can't abide by the extremely strict rules for paladins and priests, so I don't think that I can master resurrection spells in my life. The most that I can achieve is healing spells. I only hope that my son can master the rest. Ha 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 ha, friendly laughter sounded from the people around him. At this moment, the elves were still chatting and discussing, do you have any ideas? What should we give to the shop owner? It seems like the shop owner doesn't need anything, Helen said. Of course, he needs something. Sala said, I think the games in his shop need to reach more people. The players of the Kanglan City shop are much fewer than those in the continent of immortal relics. I think, we should do some promotions for the shop owner, although that battle had indeed shocked the world, not many people knew how exactly they won the war. This shop owner doesn't know how to do promotions himself, Sala mumbled in a huff. How do we do it? I tell you, Sala said in a low voice, we have many elves. With each of us doing something, it would be enough. Count us in. The knights from the Golden Griffin Knight Legion and the group of mages and priests led by Daikas chimed in. Don't forget us. Alina, one of the leaders of the Assassin Brotherhood, leaned over. Instantly, most players in Kanglan City gathered together. There's a saying, over the sea has risen the bright moon, being far apart we share this moment. Sala said, we must share good things with everyone and celebrate it with them. Well said. Well said. We must share good things with everyone. Alina's eyes lit up as she agreed to this proposition. Daikas said, maybe we can work together and buy out the time tonight in Magic Night, the most famous magic spell visual projection platform, to broadcast the event for us. My goodness, Elf Sala exclaimed, I only thought of Elf's music, another magic spell visual projection platform, we can also use the world square projection. Beside them, Kelebel suggested. You guys, Sala almost passed out, astonished by this suggestion. If this continued, they would probably have a greater show than the one in which the Judgment Godly Palace showed off their military power. I only suggested doing some promotions that the influence of our elves can achieve, and you guys. This way, we can show it to countless people who want to come but can't. It's a win-win situation. We can add tens of millions of cloud players to the audience. Dicas said firmly. Good. 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 This idea is excellent. They sounded more enthusiastic than the shareholder or even the shop owner while they planned for the future of Origin's Internet Club. Everyone, please give points to the participants of the activities in Xone. Meanwhile, the first part of the Penguin Bean winner guessing activity will close soon. Please vote for your favorite participants and make your guesses. Woo! I haven't bet on anyone yet. Su Tianji had just finished her boxed meal and said with food in her mouth. Little Schwer, whom did you bet on? Help me make the choice. As the planner of the event, Nalan Mingxiu couldn't participate in the activities, but she still could join the Penguin Bean winner guessing activity. I voted for Xiaoyu. Hey? Xiaoyu participated in the activity. Su Tianji asked in bafflement. At this moment, Zhang Xiaoyu sat in the audience stand as an exchange student of the Heavenly Faction. She was calculating in her mind, today, I participated the Ready Musician 1, I wonder how many snacks I'll win, hee, in the Zhuhua City shop yet. What did Xiaoyu perform today? Dong Qingli also said in bafflement. How come I don't remember it? It seems that she performed something, it seems. Something. No. No. I can't vote for her. Su Tianji immediately turned to other options. She can't win. At this moment, they began to announce the points for the second activity on the stage. Ning Bai was holding a jade tablet which looked like a communication jade. Right now, the most popular one. She glanced at it. It comes from Gabriel. She read the words on her jade tablet, I come from the wealthy and aristocratic Black Dragon family in the ultimate West Realm. On my most unforgettable day, I came to the Yuanyang City shop and secretly rescued the girl named Syria with the shop owner. When I first came here, many people told me that this game was free of charge. Many years have passed, and our Black Dragon family has run out of minerals. Also, my brothers from other families have married and have had children. But no one has offered any marriage proposal to me. However, I'm not envious of them. Whenever I come to the tavern and hear the girl named Syria say to me, forget me not, I know that my heart will never move for anyone else. Gradually, I understood one thing, once in the dungeon, you will no longer love anyone in the real world. Everyone froze for a moment. After a while this, Ning Bai said with sweat on her forehead, I also played as several characters, and one of them is a nanny, priest. In the game, please don't tag every equipment with intelligence and try to sell them to the nannies. Nannies really don't have money. Ha ha ha. You guys only want to make money off nannies. Amazing. Once in the dungeon, no longer love anyone in the real world. Damn. Ha ha ha. Another one went crazy. At this moment, Ning Bai looked down and said, let's see the next. The most unforgettable thing for me happened in World of Warcraft. Before that incident, I'd never imagined that our elder would act this way. It was accompanied by a picture. An elf was lying on the ground in the picture the illustration showed, didn't you tell me to sleep? Ah! Who posted this picture? Elder Sewell glared at the large group of elves behind her. Not only did they post the picture, the story was on the top list. Not me. Not me. Not me either. Mr. Fang almost spasmed and choked with laughter in the shop. This elf would be beaten to death once caught. Most of the prior submissions were funny. When Ning Bai read this piece, the audience turned from happy to silent. This should be the last writing on the list and the one with the most votes, Ning Bai said. What is a warrior? What is the martial Dao that we've been pursuing? We've spent all our lives on it but couldn't find the answer. However, when I saw the old man called the Sword Saint and the swordsman called No Name, when I saw the magnificent duel on the top of the Forbidden City under the full moon night sky, I suddenly understood it. It represents an unbending spine. It's a presence that can merge with the sky and earth and can accommodate everything in the world. It's a will that makes us improve ourselves continuously and surpass our previous achievements. This is the martial Dao that we've been pursuing after. Today, I'd like to thank you for teaching us that simple combat strength is nothing. Only with iron will and unbending spine can we become real warriors and pass down the martial Dao to future generations. This piece was signed by Nalan Hung Guyu, Zhong Wu, Liang Haihu, and all other warriors. At this moment, everyone fell silent. Why do we cultivate? Ning Bai continued. Eternity? Immortality? Perhaps. But even our ancestors couldn't achieve it, how can we do it? In fact, from the very beginning, I felt like it is a ridiculous method for cultivators to fool others and themselves. I only knew that in our cruel dog-eat-dog world, if you don't cultivate and trample others, one day, others will trample you. I happen to have this talent. If I was asked about the purpose of cultivation, my answer would be trampling more people under my feet one day. My mind changed when I saw those cultivators who fly on swords and ascend to the immortal realm and heard the shout, I control my destiny, not the heavens. I began to understand that our mission is searching for a way to go beyond this world. This is the Dao that our ancestors mentioned. Only at this moment did I truly feel that I don't have to struggle and live under others' threats. My life is mine, I'm a cultivator. All the cultivators fell silent in a daze. A voice began to roar from the bottom of their hearts. Never give in to heaven, never submit to fate. We're this type of cultivator. On Nanhua Square in the Nanhua faction in the royal courtyard in Dajin. Every prosperous place was broadcasting this event live. Memories flashed in their minds. Flying on swords. Sword 23. Perhaps one day, martial arts might be lost as time goes by, but the people who created the martial arts and their spirit will never lose their glory despite the erosion of time. At this moment, perhaps we can proudly point at the world and yell, we are cultivators. This is the spirit and presence in our minds. I'm an assassin. I once lived like a rat, hiding from people. I hid in the filthiest places and did the filthiest business. I felt lost since we had once lived in a nation full of sunshine. We tried to stand under the sunshine again, but the situation went against our wishes. I couldn't even tell people my profession since I thought it was shameful. But now, whenever I stood at a high point and looked down on the land like an eagle, I would want to dive down proudly and tell everyone that I'm an assassin. Here, I'd like to salute to the master assassins again. By the way, we like Talon's Assassin's Creed skin very much. May I ask all the assassins again, are you still lost? What's your creed and faith? Ning Bai almost yelled out the last sentences. Nothing is true, everything is permitted. Fight for freedom. Instantly, deafening roars came from the audience. They didn't settle down until a long while later. At this moment I once thought that only people with supreme strength could be called saints. But when I reached this realm, I realized that it wasn't true. Now, I have changed my mind. I think that pure strength isn't enough to be called a saint, but some people are the personification of true light, they deserve this word. Humility, honor, sacrifice, courage. When I saw such existences, I began to understand what honor really means. If someone asks me what miracles are and if I've seen one, I can proudly tell them that I saw one with my own eyes. It was a streak of light in the darkness. I will tell them with great pride that this is a miracle. If there's a god that truly deserves our reverence, it's here. At this moment, in both the West Continent and the continent of the Immortal Village, all the busy squares and spiritual spell visual projections were broadcasting this scene live. In holy light we believe. Instantly, like thunder, the roars and yells seemed to devour everything in the world. At this moment, after expressing our appreciation to many things, I think, King Yuan Fairy said, we need to thank a person the most since it's he who brought us all this. Today is a special day because today is that person's birthday. Let's give him our best wishes, okay? Happy birthday! Today's the shop owner's birthday. The elves, the knights from the Golden Griffin Knight Legion, and all the other people were astonished. Then, they yelled in surprise, Happy birthday! Xiaoyu almost jumped up from her seat. They didn't tell me. You guys! I'm angry. Without thinking, she rushed toward the Zhuhua City shop. Not only the people on and off the stage and inside the shops, but the people before the livestream screens and spiritual spell visual projections yelled together. Like a tsunami, millions of people joined the chant. Many people sat before the spiritual spell visual projections in big and small nations on the West Continent and watched the scene, not to mention those in the continent of Immortal Relic. At this moment, hearing the heartfelt wishes and seeing the huge cake that had suddenly appeared in the shop, Fang Qi felt like he wasn't lonely in this other world. Here, we have one saying for Mr. Fang, Ning Bai and King Yuan Fairy said together, don't think that you have no friends on your journey, you are well known in the world. In a daze, Fang Qi watched the scene and the people before him. It had always been him who brought these people endless surprises and pleasures. But at this moment, his heart was truly stunned and stirred for the first time. Chapter 815 The Easter Egg in Diablo 2, The Mysterious Cow Level, and True Forms of Demon Lords. However, just as they said, he had come a long way here. Looking ahead, he didn't have to worry that he would have no friends. Hearing the warm cheers, he looked dumbfoundedly at the big cake pushed over by Dong King Gli in the Zhuhua City shop, and he asked, Oh, you guys said. Whose birthday is it? They looked at him in bafflement. Isn't it yours? My? No, Mr. Fang froze. My birthday is, he suddenly froze in the middle of the sentence. It seems that today is indeed my birthday, what do you mean by it seems? It is, all right. You are too busy to think clearly. The people around Mr. Fang looked at him in disdain. I guess the scummy shop owner has never eaten a cake before, and he is stunned by the sight of it. A petite figure came in from outside. Xiaoyu. Mr. Fang said, Little girl, you're supposed to be in school. How come you're here? Humph. Zhang Xiaoyu said smugly, I'm now a diamond master while the others are only gold. I'm so good, so it's no big deal for me to ask for a leave of absence. Besides, I'm not here to play. Come and make a wish. Then, they lit the candles for Mr. Fang. While he sat in his chair, the livestream room broadcasted this scene, showing it to everyone watching. I wish, the internet cafe expands further, so more people can play our games. I wish everyone is as happy as today, Mr. Fang said after a moment of consideration. I wish that everyone walking out of the internet cafe will be dragons and godlike figures. Although the players in all the shops of the Internet Club were less than 1% or even 1,000th of the population of the whole world, its reputation was great enough, and it was well known. All the viewers watching the live stream cheered. It felt as if the whole world was celebrating. After making the wishes, he blew out all the candles in one breath. Looking at the pretty big multi-layer cake beside Mr. Fang, Zhang Xiaoyu widened her eyes. Wow! After blowing out the candles, Mr. Fang quickly pulled her back. You're almost in the cake. It's just a cake. I used to eat several cakes each year and got tired of it. Where did you get several cakes? Zhang Xiaoyu said in a huff, how come I've never eaten them before? He's just bragging. Su Tianji said, our cake is made with a special process. It's super delicious. Su Tianji said in a low voice. Mr. Fang disagreed. It's just a birthday cake made with cream and egg. What special process? It's not like I've never eaten cakes before. Before I traveled through space and time, what kind of cakes didn't I eat? Humph. At this moment, Dong Qingli crossed her arms before her chest and lifted her exquisite chin while saying smugly, this cake is not an average cake. Is there anything special with the cakes made in your restaurant? Mr. Fang asked. Of course. Dong Qingli pointed at the cake before Mr. Fang and said, first, let's talk about the cream. Based on the original cream production process, we used meticulous material selection and creation process. We obtained fresh milk from the immortal grade cows that were fed with spiritual essence and spiritual herbs for years. As for the eggs in the cake, we selected the top quality spiritual eggs from the meticulously selected immortal grade hens that were fed with Lanzi immortal herb. As for the water that we used, stupefied, Mr. Fang listened to Dong Qingli's introduction. You guys. He was stunned. Quickly try it. Immediately, Mr. Fang cut a small piece, forked up a small portion, and placed it on his tongue. Wow! He almost devoured his own tongue. Dong Qingli leaned over with a smile and said, what do you think, sir? My restaurant's cake is delicious, right? Delicious, Mr. Fang had never tasted such delicious birthday cake before. In the past, the cakes were too big, and he had to struggle to finish the rest of the cake after the first few bites. But now, staring at the huge cake in front of him, he felt like he could eat it all even if it was twice this big. At this moment, he heard Dong Qingli say, regretfully, regardless of how we tried, we could only achieve about 70% of the rich flavor of the cream produced in the shop. Regardless of how we tried, we couldn't make it better. Sometimes, the result got worse. Mr. Fang's face darkened, thinking, although the system made the snacks casually, it would be outstanding if you can achieve 70% of the flavor. Yay! I want to eat too. Zhang Xiaoyu watched Mr. Fang eat the cake with an eager look on her face, looking as if she wanted to grab the cake from his hands. While devouring the cake, Mr. Fang said blurrily, Xiaoyu, people prepared birthday gifts for me, but you came without a gift and want to eat the cake. Humph, hey! Zhang Xiaoyu looked around and blushed. I also brought a gift for you. Reluctantly, she took out a box of Dove chocolate from her storage space. This is the last snack in my treasured collection. There's no more snacks after I give you this. I'd hate to take it from you. Mr. Fang took it and said solemnly at the same time. Hey! Slow down! Zhang Xiaoyu yelled in alarm, you almost ate it all. Not at all. I saved one piece for everyone. This is for you. It's too small. I want yours. You're small, so you should eat the small piece. Each was louder than the last. Looking at them, Dong Qingli and others exchanged a smile. For one instant, they seemed to return to the small shop when it was just opened with a shop owner playing games and a lowly keeping an eye on the shop. The shop looked different now, but the people were still the same. After celebrating Mr. Fang's birthday, it came to the last stage of the event, hunting for Easter eggs. Meanwhile, the viewers were busy giving points to the participants in the second activity. Although Resident Evil was one of the earliest games, the hidden items such as the unlimited rocket launcher that could allow the players to clear the stage within 3 hours had been discovered long ago. Therefore, it had low points. In fact, some players in the new shop would go and find prequels after playing the sequels or the games made by the same studio. After Mr. Fang's promotional activity of buying 10 and getting 1 for free, more players entered the games. For example, some of the World of Warcraft players in the new shop also played StarCraft and Diablo 2, which were also produced by Blizzard, let alone the players who went back to the Legend of Sword and Fairy 3 and 1 after playing the Legend of Sword and Fairy 4. Ning Bai said, I see that many people are posting the Easter eggs they discovered. Soon, our Easter egg activity will end, and we'll verify if these Easter eggs are truly in the games. After the time was up, the hostesses would announce these Easter eggs and verify them to see if they were true. After the time limit, the players who hadn't posted their discoveries couldn't participate in this activity anymore. The Easter eggs that have been found by many people don't need verification. Now, let's see the Easter eggs and hidden items that need verification. The Secret Cow level in Diablo 2. This Easter egg is known to many players and doesn't need verification. The true forms of the Demon Lords in Diablo 2. Everyone knew that there were 3 difficulty levels in Diablo 2, Normal, Nightmare, and Hell. In reality, the true forms of the Demon Lords were still hidden in the deeper places. There are over 10 players, including 13 players in the old shops in Zhuhua City, Half City, and Yuanyang City, as well as 2 players in Kanglan City, posted guides about related Easter eggs. 3 players posted relatively complete guides, including the 6 super bosses, which are 3 lesser evils: Lilith, Andariel's mother, Uber Izul, and Uber Duriel, and the 3 prime evils: Uber Mephisto, Uber Diablo, and Uber Baal. After clearing the stage in Hell difficulty in Diablo 2, there is a very low probability for the boss to drop 3 different keys in Acts I, 2, and 4 in Hell difficulty. The keys are the Key of Terror from the Countess, the Key of Hate from the Summoner, and the Key of Destruction from Nilathuk. In the city in Act 4, the 3 keys can be transmuted through the Horadric Cube into a key leading to the real den of lesser evils. When Ning Bai read this, the audience gasped, there are such bosses in Diablo 2. Mr. Fang just smiled. Let's test it. Nalan Hongwu and the others were the most experienced Diablo 2 players. Despite the new games released each year, these veteran players would never forsake the old games. Obviously, Nalan Hongwu had gotten the Key of Terror, the Key of Hate, and the Key of Destruction ready. Opening a portal with 1 key, the 3 keys could transmute into 3 portals in Horadric Cube. Each of these 3 portals led to a lesser evil's residence. At this moment, the viewers watched as Nalan Hongwu placed a set of keys into the Horadric Cube. The ancient godly Horadric Cube had miraculous powers and was one of the highest achievements of alchemy. It could simplify most spells and recipes and forge items. When Nalan Hongwu activated the Horadric Cube, the viewers saw a streak of strange red light fall from the sky in the center of the city. A red portal emitting a bloody smell was opened. It seemed to lead to the entrance of hell with extremely horrifying monsters hiding there. Then, the second portal and the third portal were opened. With Elder Fu and Nalan Hongwu stepping into the first portal, the magic map showed that it was a place named Matron's Denmark. Obviously, this wasn't a place familiar to the players. It's true. All the players who had played or knew about Diablo 2 stared at the screen in a daze. There really exists such a secret place, and evil demon lords are indeed hiding inside. They felt the thick mist beginning to clear up before them, revealing the true forms of the bosses. When the true forms of the 3 lesser evils were killed, Diablo's horn, Mephisto's brain, and Baal's eye merged into a new blood-colored portal which looked like the Eye of Doomsday. It led to Chaos Tristram, where countless demons lived. Endless destruction and hellish horror filled this terrifying space. This was the Tristram in a different dimension. It was the headquarters and home base of the 3 demon lords. My goodness, there are indeed true forms of those demon lords. The 3 demon lords at hell difficulty are horrifying enough. I wonder how powerful these 3 existences are. Upon entering the portal, the players were struck with destructive storms and world-destroying meteorite strikes. Although it was only a quick glance, the scene left a deep impression on the viewers. I didn't know that the terrifying true forms of these 3 demon lords are hiding in Diablo 2, and they are horrifyingly powerful. Ning Bai said, I'm afraid that not everyone can challenge them. Now, thank you for bringing us such a fascinating Easter egg. Then, let's see the next. The mysterious small water drops in the Legend of Sword and Fairy 4, Ning Bai read, after mastering the ability to fly on swords and returning to Rock Creek Cave in Greenbird Peak, you'll find that it is totally different inside. There are no longer monsters but many mysterious small water drops in which we seem to see the dialogues between the creators of the Legend of Sword and Fairy 4, Hey? The creators of the Legend of Sword and Fairy 4. Ning Bai said in surprise, it is the godlike figure named Shanghai Soft Star? Or is it an organization? Creators. In the Zhuhua City shop, Su Tianji said in surprise, the creators of the Legend of Sword and Fairy? Really? F***ck. Song Qing Feng was also surprised. What kind of godlike figures are they? After all, the creators of the games had always been mysterious. Let's verify if this Easter egg really exists. In the system version, this Easter egg was harder to find than in the original version in which the water drops were big NPCs which could converse. In the system version, they looked the same as the small water drops in nature. It was why not many players discovered them. At this moment, Elder Sewell and other elves who were fans of natural scenery were demonstrating this Easter egg. They had gone to Rock Creek Cave many times to appreciate the views and thus found this detail. Soon, the big screen behind Ning Bai showed these water drops. Shining under the lights, the water drops in Rock Creek Cave emitted dreamy colors, making the dreamlike cave even more fascinating. They looked carefully and saw another world seemed to be hidden in the small radiant water drops. Vaguely, they seemed to hear some voices. The Legend of Sword and Fairy 4 contains the hard work of many people who had worked day and night on it. Shanghai Soft Star is only 6 years old. Thank you for your support, but we don't dare to compare it to many other masterpieces. Many players like the Legend of Sword and Fairy, and we must nurture it with sincerity instead of selfishness. Otherwise, how can the players be touched by the stories? While you experience the world, remember to try all kinds of small delicacies in different places. As we mention food, I remember that I haven't had barbecue for a long while. Playing games appropriately is good for your mind. Remember to take a break when you're fatigued. Thank you for your support and love for the Legend of Sword and Fairy 4. In reality, the players in this world never knew what the production teams looked like. However, they felt the sincerity and gratitude contained in these words. From their conversations, we can tell that Shanghai Soft Star is probably the youngest team and not very rich, Ning Bai said in excitement, although I don't know if these godlike figures are just being modest, I want to say, thank you for making the excellent Legend of Sword and Fairy under severe conditions. Thank you. At this moment, bullet comments flooded the screen, coming from players all over the world including those in the continent of immortal relics as well as the elves and dwarves in the west continent. Thank you. Thank you for bringing us such an excellent story. Hope we can see more excellent stories from you. Perhaps they didn't know that before Fang Qi traveled through space-time, the team named Soft Star which had made the Legend of Sword and Fairy 3 and 4 had disintegrated. In the Kanglan City shop, the elves sent their sincere wish. Regardless of how the world changes, these memories will always stay in our hearts. Chapter 817 Godly Punishment. It's us. On the seats for the Nanhua faction, Mo Xian and her senior and junior sisters heard the result and just couldn't believe it. Then, Mo Xian pinched Yu Yan's cheek. Junior sister, does it hurt? Is it real? With her cheek pinched red, Yu Yan protested loudly. In the most unforgettable memory, Believe in Holy Light from World of Warcraft won the highest point. The materials are provided by people like Wilson, Leiden, and Elvin. They mentioned our names. Cheers came from Kanglan City. In Ready Player One Easter egg hunting activity, Nalan Hungyu and his team's hunt of the true forms of Devil Lords in Diablo 2 won the highest points. The second place goes to the elf team led by Sewell who found the Easter egg in Rock Creek Cave in the Legend of Sword and Fairy 4. The elves were astonished. We won a reward. We won a reward. They looked at each other and exclaimed together. "Let's see what's in the shop owner's big gift bags," the group yelled. These elves had coveted Mr. Fang's prizes for a long time. The people in this world had only known very few skills and techniques, and they had had low strength. However, they were indeed talented. Like pearls covered in dust, they revealed their beautiful colors after a few light brushes. Meanwhile, Mr. Fang's tournament continued as planned in the division in the continent of Immortal Relics mid lane. "Come to Baron. Force a team fight with Baron." "Oh! My goodness!" Xiao Yulv exclaimed at the caster stand, 5 attacks in 1 second. "No. 5 attacks in an instant." Participant Nalan Mingxiu used this trump card and instantly killed the ADC from the Royal Clan team. The Ling Yun team will win this match. In the division in the West Continent, assassin Alina tightened the grip on her throwing knife. Her champion was Talon, and she was waiting for her prey like a cheetah. A ring of blades flew out as if they were driven by an invisible force. The assassin champion that she controlled flew out, looking like a horrifying ghost. When the enemy Zeroth walked past, she instantly stabbed forward in stealth like a lightning flash. Countless flying blades became one like a saber control technique. Instant kill. The enemy mid laner was instantly killed. We control such great power, we make breakthroughs continuously in the mystical realm with their skills. It was on a distant and remote high mountain far away from the shop. This horrifying snowstorm will destroy everything. Swine stared at the sight before him as the energy of chilly ice, wind, and snowstorm continued to grow but was eventually controlled in a certain area by him. "Swine, be careful." World Mage Hematon warned him, "This is the best spell of the Ascendant. In the game, I could only use it with a strength less than level 7, but now I'll use it with my strength as a pinnacle stage saint level master." Restless energy instantly turned violent around him while an extremely horrifying and destructive energy beam shot out. "Face the wind." When the blade slashed out, a hurricane as huge as a natural barrier suddenly rose before him. All the energy was destroyed. Boom! A thunder tore open the sky. No one had seen such a horrifying sky before. It looked as if the sky and the earth were enraged. It even looked like the sky had been devoured. The elves pushed open the door and walked out of the shop. Suddenly, they pointed at the sky. "Look!" The blazing sun looked as if it was being slowly devoured by something. The sky turned dark. In one instant, the day turned into the night. Meanwhile, the continent of Immortal Relics, which was in another plane, had the same phenomenon. It seemed like a horrifying catastrophe was brewing. It seemed like the heavens and the earth were enraged, and the gods were going to unleash the destructive godly punishment. Amidst the bell chimes in the early morning, the old cultivator maintaining the ancestor master's shrine in the heavenly faction lit up incense sticks with great respect. Above the portraits of all previous ancestral masters of each generation were some other portraits. Only real gods and immortals were worshipped above the founding ancestral master. It was the ancient tradition of the heavenly faction, and the 3 saint factions in the continent of Immortal Relics did the same. These were the greatest existences they worshipped. They represented the end of the pursuit of Deo. They were the holiest existences that all the cultivators since the ancient times had been worshipping. According to the legends, these immortals existed from the very beginning of time and lived in grand immortal nations that were unimaginable for mortals. Heaven supervising immortal would watch the mortal world and choose the fortunate ones to enter the ethereal world of immortals. At the god's peak in the radiant light godly nation, radiant light shone on this land permanently. There were no nights in this place. Lights shined brightly, and countless followers kneeled and worshipped with great devotion. According to the legends, mortals could never ascend. Only the powerful and pious souls could be led into the realm where the gods lived after death. Some legends even said that the nation named after the radiant light had inherited the radiant light from the gods in heaven. The pure souls of the noble royal member came from the infinite distant nation where the gods lived. Saint Heinz, who was in charge of the Judgment Godly Palace, even said that he had served the god of radiant light judgment. They possessed the real divinity. It was the god's blessing that the followers craved for but couldn't receive. According to the old tales, they lived in the lofty realm beyond the clouds, and countless poems praised it and described its beauty, which was unimaginable for humans. It was an impeccable and dreamy place. The gods living there were elegant and noble, and no word in the world could describe their magnificence. When the sun rose, the perfect golden lights were the blessings from the gods. When the sun set, the radiant evening clouds were the silky robes that the gods wore. The followers piously believed that, one day, these great existences would see their piety, pity them, and lead them up to the godly nation. One day in the immortal realm was equal to 1 year on the mortal realm. The immortality of the gods went beyond the imagination of mortals. Chaotic ice and flames danced in the deepest place in the void and the universe. The greatest sound was silent, and the greatest shape was formless. From the endless space, they looked down on the countless mortals who worshipped with lowered heads. It seemed like the dark void was shined on by the light, and all darkness vanished. It also seemed like lights were swallowed, with only empty darkness remained. In the depths where light and darkness merged, there was a distant world unreachable by mortals. The innumerable immortal sea, God's palace, and godly court came together and created the whole immortal nation beyond the void. There lived the existences whom mortals admired, worshipped, and believed in. Meanwhile, in the shrine in the back mountain of the heavenly faction, the old cultivator who was putting up incense sticks rubbed his eyes. He seemed to see one of the portraits above the portraits of the ancestral masters suddenly move. It was one of the portraits of the loftiest existences. In great astonishment, he actually saw a figure walking down from the painting. The godly figure said, "You mortals have forgotten the covenant that you made years ago and committed such a crime. Shortly, a destructive catastrophe will come. But the heavens are merciful. If you are willing to forget the past and all the things related to that shop to redeem yourself, you might have a chance to live." Upper Immortal, I don't know what crime we've committed, the old cultivator asked immediately. The martial art ban. Even if the other factions didn't mention it, the ancestral master of your heavenly faction didn't tell you that. Where's your faction master? He's in the internet cafe, the old cultivator scratched his head and said, "We didn't do anything forbidden." They were so exhilarated. People did the same in the half-city shop and Zhuhua city shop. In the new shop at the East Continent, the newbies who had just begun playing games obviously were not as lucky as the veterans. Envious, they watched the live stream as others opened the treasure boxes. Don't worry. This time, we won a complete set of champion skins and the latest model of communication jades. The heavenly faction master encouraged the disciples who were watching the opening of big gift bags. Next time, we'll do better. We'll open first. We'll open first. In the Kanglan City shop, the elves couldn't wait anymore. Elder, you do it. With some reluctance, the elves handed the exquisite gift bag to Elder Sewell. Heya! Elf Queen Kelebel watched them with envy. It's better to hand out the prize directly, why make it so mysterious? Of course, she was here with the identity of an elf wanderer. Even Demon Dragon Gulf widened his golden eyes. Will a horrifying monster jump out of it? Be careful! Ha 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 ha! The cowardly dragon is so scared. It's said that this dragon almost wet himself in fear. He almost couldn't make it to the washroom. Ha ha ha! Who's cowardly? Who did you say is scared? The shop was filled with a happy atmosphere again. At this moment, Elder Sewell took the gift bag and opened it. Several items jumped out. They even saw a streak of dazzling golden flash. While their hearts lurched, they instinctively knew that good stuff came out. Wow! So many! Sala was almost dizzy as stars appeared in her eyes. My goodness! How come there are so many? The system was upgrading, and it seemed like the prizes and rewards were upgraded as well. There were several things hovering before them in silence. There was an antique-looking bow, a set of silver blades, a machete, a crossbow, and arrows, and a long sword that had a strange shape. Like virtual images, words of descriptions hovered beside the items. Obviously, during the upgrading process, the system had added some new black technology. Thoridel, the star's fury, copy. Since the worlds in the games were all virtual, the items in them couldn't come out to the real world. There would only be copies made by the system. Ah! Seeing the first item, the elves froze as if they couldn't believe their eyes. Then, they jumped up and screamed as if they had won a lottery of millions. Yay! Let me pinch you and see if we're in a dream. Sala looked at Rowling beside her and pinched the latter. It must be noted that this was one of the most powerful godly weapons that could be acquired by the players in the current expansion of World of Warcraft. It was a weapon on the same level as the twin blades of Aetsinoth, which was Illidan's weapon. Ah! Why pinch me? Rowling was displeased, but she was happy and thrilled to see this bow. Then, they looked at the set of blades on the side. The weapon used by Talon, the blade's shadow. It doesn't have a name. Yay! This is great too. Look at this one. The description said. Vane's heavy crossbow and silver bolts, copy, dot. The last item was the longsword, and Tianhe sword, copy, dot. Ah ha ha ha. Even Elder Sewell almost jumped up in thrill. This big gift bag even contains the Tianhe sword. Ha 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 ha. As huge fans of the Legend of Sword and Fairy 4, they were elated. After all, Murongxiang forged the Tianhe sword based on the Wangshu sword, and it was only inferior to the Wangshu sword in the game. Yun Tianhe had shot down the Qianghua faction with the Ho Yi Sun shooting bow and the Tianhe sword as the arrow. Ahaya! So many good things. I'm almost too ashamed to take them all. Sala said with hesitation. Should we see what other people have got? Elder Sewell suggested. Okay. Okay. Immediately, they turned on the live stream from the continent of immortal relics. At this moment, Nalan Hungyu, Elder Fu, and Huawei and the others sat together and opened their big gift bag on the live stream. When it was opened, items jumped out of the exquisite small box like water spraying out of a fountain. Everyone saw a dazzling golden light flashing by. Nalan Hungyu froze and then exclaimed, "It flashed! It flashed! Let's see what it is." A strange flame was bathed in pale golden lights. Obviously, it wasn't an ordinary item. Beside that, they saw an ancient mirror made of neither gold nor jade, but it was covered in golden clouds. It was also bathed in golden lights. Next to the mirror was a magnificent crystal sword engulfed in dazzling golden lights as well. Dragon's Breath, copy, Heavenly Mirror, copy, Phase Blade, Last Wish, Rune Word in Diablo, copy, wow! The group of old people were shocked, and their mouths opened in O shapes as they watched the sight with widened eyes. My goodness! Bedlam broke out in the live showroom. Their luck is unrivaled. With these 3 items, they are unrivaled. My goodness! With these items, they can even fight real immortals. Sala and the other elves saw the scene and widened their eyes again. Their things seem to be better than ours. We saw only one flash, they had 3 consecutive flashes. Quickly look at what's in our big gift bag. In the half-city shop, Mo Xian and other disciples of the Nanhua faction were excited. In the Kanglan City shop, Wilson and the other holy level masters were breathing rapidly as well. They also won a big gift bag. It was a prize obtained together by the Golden Griffin Knight Legion and Daikas, the priest. They had collected the materials together. Who's going to open it? They exchanged a look. Let me do it. Helen volunteered. Immediately, she opened it as well. Flash! We got flashes too. We seem to have 2 flashes. In the 2 golden light beams, a huge fiery red sword, as if it was covered in lava, and a golden spell scroll hovered in the air silently. Firelink Greatsword. Sunlight Spear. Other things aside, the Sunlight Spear was the most powerful miracle in Dark Souls 3, it was also the strongest spell of Gwyn, a lord of Cinder and the leader of gods. In Dark Souls, the spells could be stored in the magic scrolls, which saved the trouble to learning them. The players in the Kanglan City shop got more than these two treasures. Next to the two gold-level treasures that were categorized by the system, there was a dancing purple flame and a sword. There's such a thing. By now, the overall ranking was released, and the winner was the Yuanyang City shop's Gu Tingyun, the Academy Master of the Heavenly Academy. Academy Master Gu, do you have a specific item that you'd like to have? Mr. Fang sent him a message, but I must tell you that I can't give you anything too powerful. Smirking face. After all, the system set the limit that the prizes couldn't exceed 80% of the level of prizes that Mr. Fang had acquired. Gu Tingyun looked at the prizes that others had received. Let me think about it. In the half-city shop, Mo Xian and the others from the Nanhua faction opened their big gift bag. Suddenly, a dazzling golden light shot out of the gift bag and soared into the sky. What's that? Everyone realized that it was another great treasure. Lights dimmed and revealed an antique-looking spotless sword with flowing lights. Ancient godly sword which can shatter the sky and the earth. This is Wuchen sword. Li Xiaoao's ultimate weapon in the legend of Sword and Fairy. F*K. Although the players of the game knew that Wuchen sword wasn't as powerful as the description said, it was still a godly sword. Quickly look at what else is in there. Despite the dazzling lights which could even blind them, the viewers immediately turned their eyes to the center of the golden light. They seemed to see a palm-sized sapphire blue box. It looked very exquisite. What's this? The cultivators from factions of the East Continent, including the Heavenly faction and the Xiaoao Cave Abode, and the cultivators from Yuanyang City shop were watching the unboxing. What's this? The cultivators exchanged a look. Which Daoist friend has seen this treasure before? Elder Xiao Yunhe from the Heavenly faction leaned close to the screen and vaguely saw a strange-shaped silver word on the sapphire box. Subconsciously, he read out loud, Stride. Stride? The other elders all looked over. What kind of treasure is this? They said in a loud voice, this treasure is strange. What is this treasure for? There's the description on the bottom, check it out. On the sapphire blue box were written, the delicious taste lingers longer than you can believe. TL note, this is the slogan for Stride Gum in China. Nonsense. In the blinding immortal light was the blurry shape of the ethereal figure. This figure reprimanded, do you know what disastrous consequences your behavior will bring to yourselves? No one is allowed to break the rules made by the ancient saints, otherwise, the old cultivator stomped his foot while he said frantically, Upper Immortal, we only play games. We didn't break any rules. He quickly took out his communication jade which contained the video of him playing as the Hand of Nakus. We just play League of Legends, we didn't do anything that would anger the heaven or anyone. We've always abided by the laws. Why? Humph. The figure in the immortal light snorted. I think your life in the peaceful world is a bit too comfortable, despite the clumsiness of these moves. Do you really think we are so foolish that we can't recognize them? The immortal figure looked at the communication jade that the old cultivator took out and said with a snicker, but I don't want to explain it to you. You only need to know that everything you've learned from this shop is forbidden according to the ban. Then, the voice turned even chillier. Not to mention the talks about slaying gods and killing immortals. You're reckless. Who do you think you are? You dare to play tricks on us? Instantly, this figure released a tiny bit of his presence, and it made the old cultivator feel like a giant and horrifying ancient mountain was crashing toward him. The old cultivator was knocked down by the pressure, dropping the communication jade on the ground. He spewed out a mouthful of blood while his face instantly turned deadly pale. Even a tiny streak of the godly presence was too much for him. I'm Guiya from Connate Cliff. Although the face of his figure was blurry, the voice was full of arrogance. Perhaps this speaker looked arrogant and overbearing at this moment. Gui, the old cultivator froze and then looked horrified. This surname? Suddenly, he remembered the short records in the ancient scrolls in the faction. It was said that 8 extremely ancient families once lived on this continent. They seemed to have existed as long as the human race. Some even said that all the cultivation techniques on this continent came from these 8 ancient families. In that era, even the kids who kept eyes on the gates were saint-level masters, and they could stir up discussions in the whole world with one or half a move. In that era, the saint-level masters in the West Continent didn't dare to call themselves saints, such there were 8 ultimate saints from the 8 families. According to the ancient scrolls, at that time, there was no ascendance, and the immortals just lived as hermits in the spiritual mountains and rivers. It was clearly recorded that the saint of the Gui family had once struck the souls out from several immortals with one palm strike, and the latter died with their bodies and Deo destroyed. Even the people who could ascend had to look up to them and could never imagine how high that realm was. These saints were the most respected existences for the cultivators who tried to become immortals. Green Sky has some abilities but is still a foreigner. The cold voice pulled the old cultivator back to reality. Don't think that I'm not aware of the overconfident person who thinks that everything is okay after escaping from her hand. The old cultivator froze, not understanding what he meant. The figure continued, long ago, there was also an overconfident figure. However, this figure had fallen into this filthy mortal world and became the divinity that these lowly ants fought over. This is my warning, the figure in the immortal lights said, think carefully before you make the decision. Then, the immortal light dimmed, and that portrait of the immortal in the shrine returned to its original form. It looked as if nothing had happened. With a horrified expression, the old cultivator looked around. His communication jade that fell on the floor was still showing the League of Legends video. Hurry, he got up from the ground immediately, I must report this to the faction master. He ran out and then ran back to pick up his communication jade. Right. Send a QQ message. QQ. I'm so forgetful. I almost forgot this function. At this moment, Zhang Xiaoyu, with excellent talent and abundant experience from working with and playing games with Mr. Fang for years, had very good skills in the game. Since this was only the first season, only a few masters could reach Diamond. In the system version, players needed their league points to reach a certain level to activate the challenger rank. That was why there weren't any challenger players right now. On the other hand, since it was the first time that the players could compete in the ranking system, they continued to develop and expand their skills and strategies even though they were in Diamond. Reaching this level only showed that these players played better than others. It didn't mean that the players could use any techniques freely. On the screen, Xiaoyu played as the mid laner, Star Forger. Right now, she was level 5 and was going back to base to buy items. Her opponent was controlling the Wujua Bladesman with the Immortal Journey skin, Duguyi was wandering in the mid lane on a flying sword. When he slashed, he always struck the weak points of the minions and killed them with one strike. Restricted by the strength limit, he couldn't fly too high but looked quite relaxed. Jungler, mid laner. Come to the mid lane for a gank. At this moment, the jungler of the heavenly team was the Grand Duelist controlled by Yu Bai. Elder senior sister Yu Yin had turned to the top lane after her ATM Grand Duelist was mocked many times. With Comet of Legend, Zhang Xiaoyu shot toward the mid lane swiftly like a surging wave in the river of stars. Meanwhile, Yu Bai's Grand Duelist came up from behind the river. The Star Forger shot toward the wandering Wujua Bladesman in the mid lane as swiftly as a sharp arrow while Star Surge, Q, transformed into a huge vortex of stars and shot out. Almost at the same time, a figure suddenly appeared behind the Wujua Bladesman. They attacked from both sides. The Wujua Bladesman's clothes were lit up by flames, and he couldn't survive if they attacked him together. The Star Surge was almost cast in front of his face. Even if they were lightly touched by this huge force, ordinary people would be dazzled and lose balance. If he was delayed for a split second, he wouldn't be able to get out. The attacks were too sudden for an average person to react. But at this moment, the Wuji bladesman controlled by Duguyi suddenly made a move to retreat. Want to dodge? Humans couldn't move as fast as the star surgem, which traveled at the speed of a star core. Even though it was casted by a cultivator with a strength lower than level 7, it wasn't easy to dodge. But at this moment, the bladesman suddenly changed into a sword shadow and vanished. Then, a series of sword clashing noises sounded. In the next moment, a shallow injury appeared on the Grand Duelist's arm. At this moment, the Wujua bladesman had landed behind the Grand Duelist. Taking 2 steps backward gave him enough distance to use Alpha Strike. If he had been a millisecond later, he would have been trapped. During the process, he didn't make a tiny calculation mistake. He dodged all the skills in this sudden sneak attack with Alpha Strike. With his hands clasped behind his back, the Wujua bladesman looked unruffled. Good. So strong. Elder Xiao Yunhe, who was watching the battle from behind, yelled in a low voice, "No wonder they're the strongest team in the East Continent region." Yes. Standing next to him, faction chief Fang Qi nodded slightly with an amiable expression. These kids are still young and can't compete with the seniors. But they are quite good. Ha 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 ha. Nothing was more enjoyable than seeing the growth of the disciples. If the situation continued, maybe one day, even if he couldn't do it, these disciples might be able to make the step forward. While inhaling deeply, he looked at the sky outside the shop. Perhaps the heavenly faction will expand and prosper under my guidance one day. If I can do it, it's well worth my efforts as the faction master. At this moment, he suddenly heard a beep from his communication jade. Hey! He took it out immediately and saw that it was from Elder Feng Yan. Faction Master. Bad news. We're in big trouble. What bad news? Feng Qi was a little displeased. Why are you so panicked? As a cultivator, where's your calmness? Immortal. Immortal. What immortal? Feng Qi asked immediately. At this moment, he seemed to realize the severity of the situation. He looked up at the sky, which had been always gloomy lately. Without a thread of sunshine, it looked like the atmosphere before a catastrophe. Huge catastrophe, a huge catastrophe is coming. Our heavenly faction is in danger. In the Ancestor Master's shrine, the pale-faced old cultivator tried to get up, but he fell again after a few stumbling steps. No, my essence is messy in my meridians, and I can't activate cultivation strength to fly. He quickly reported the strange phenomenon that happened in the back mountain. What? As if he had heard a loud thunder from the clear sky, Feng Shui's face instantly paled. It's not something that we can joke about. Elder Feng Yan, is it true? Looking at the gloomy sky, he knew without a doubt that it was an omen. What's happening? Faction Master, what happened? Forbidden, godly punishment. Ha 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 ha. A pathetic and helpless laughter sounded in the shop. Crack. A roaring gust blew into the shop and messed up his daist hat. Another horrifying lightning bolt flashed in the sky above the shop as if it was the fury from the heaven. I was wondering about the strange phenomenon lately, one elder said in a grave voice. Meanwhile, the same news came from the 3 saint factions in the distant continent of Immortal Relic. Even the West Continent had the same situation. On the first day, a windstorm came and turned the world into darkness. On the second day, a rainstorm came as ocean water poured onto land. At this moment, the peaceful and serene Silver Moon Forest was engulfed in a heavy storm that the elves had never seen before. Countless elves scrambled to seek shelter while the river broke through the banks. In the beautiful White Creek City, creek water poured into the streets, and the elves with low strength hid in their rooms and shivered. While bringing hands together before their chests, they seemed to be praying for their god to take away the catastrophe. The neighboring nation of the Morning Light Empire was the homeland of Merlin, a current employee of the Kanglan City shop. This ancient nation of knights looked like a withered old tree. It was late in the night, and two figures could be seen hurrying along the street in this ancient nation of knights. The radiant light godly palace was still brightly lit. "Get in line. Don't push. My lord, will we have a chance to go up to the ultimate god nation to serve the gods so long as we're pious enough? Do you think anyone can serve that existence?" The priest looked at the old man who was dressed in ragged clothes and mocked, "Of course, you must show your piety." Embarrassed, the old man dug out some silver coins with the heraldry of the Stan Empire. "This is all I have, can you show mercy? You don't even have any magic crystals." The priest looked cold. "I beg you," a little girl who was about 5 years old and had a ponytail pulled on his arm and said, "My grandpa," pale-faced. The old man coughed in obvious physical discomfort and begged, "Can you make an exception?" Impatient, the priest brushed him onto the ground and shouted, "Do you take me as a beggar?" "Grandpa! Grandpa!" The little held onto the old man and cried. "Mr. Senior Priest," a younger priest dressed in a priest's robe said in a low voice, "the tribute that we collected today, is almost enough. The rest, continue." The senior priest said with a snort, "Who said that it's enough?" He pointed at the long line behind them and said, "There are so many devoted followers, who said that it's enough?" "I can tell you clearly," the priest said in a cold voice, "the humans in this world have angered the gods, and godly punishment will come soon. When it comes, none of you sinners can escape." The people standing in the back of the line all went crazy. In the innumerable immortal sea in the endless void on the cliff over the surging white clouds, a figure looked down on the world. His gaze turned toward the world beyond the sky instead of the land beneath his feet. "Mr. Guiyat." A figure behind him bowed with respect. "You're wondering why I made such a big fuss out of this insignificant incident and some overconfident mortals. I dare not." This figure waved his hand, and a streak of horrifying immortal lightning shot past a flying bird and crashed toward a huge golden rock in the sky. In the next moment, the flying bird turned into dust. He said with a snicker, "While we move forward in a huge ship, an ant happens to rest on our path. Do you think the ant will be shattered, or will this huge ship will be knocked over? Do you understand now? Now. If I could hear Deo in the morning, I may die in the evening without regret." At this moment, the Xiaoao ancestral master and people from other major factions also stood up. "Seniors, what do you think? Even the heavenly faction master must show respect to seniors like the Xiaoao ancestral master." Fang Qi bowed slightly and asked them. Everyone looked grim. "This isn't a small issue." They exchanged a look, they had never looked so grim before. The Xiaoao ancestral master looked at the people of heavenly faction and said, "Tell us what happened without omitting any details." Soon, these people told them the details of what happened to Elder Feng Yan who was guarding the back mountain and the ancestral master's shrine. The black-robed Elder Dugu Xiao from the heavenly faction said angrily, "We've worshipped these immortals for generations in the past thousands of years with incense sticks. Our faction was in the danger of collapse several times and had to be on guard of the invasions from the godly palaces from the west continent. However, we received no protection from these immortals. Despite the death of our elders and faction masters, we managed to survive. We just treated them as if they didn't exist. But now," Elder Dugu Xiao sneered, "the moment that our heavenly faction obtained some progress, they begin to threaten us and give us pressure. Yuck! They just don't want us to progress." "But," the white-robed Elder Xiao Yunhe sighed, "the thing is that we are no match for them. Fighting those existences is like hitting a rock with an egg. We must think carefully." The Xiaoao ancestral master, Duguyi, and others exchanged a look and squinted their eyes. Meanwhile, in shops like the one in Zhuhua City and Half City, the cultivators and warriors obviously had also received the same message. The Taxa faction master, the leader of one of the three saint factions, sat in the grand hall in the faction and felt dejected. "It has been so many years," the old deist dressed in a purple robe looked at the dark sky out of the hall with a lost expression. The dark sky looked as if a destructive catastrophe was brewing. He couldn't help but wonder if the gods would get so angry that they would turn the mortal world upside down. I had dreamed of seeing an immortal. Today, I finally got my wish, but, he had never looked so melancholic and lost before. Even he, a famous major faction master, sat on this couch in a daze with coldness in his heart. Stay away from them and forget the past. This is the only way that you can still live. These words were tossed out casually. To forget certain things meant that they would return to their previous state. Faction master, beside him, elder disciple Ling Wanyan tried to speak but didn't know what to say. Yes, in the shop, they were not as powerful as those experienced old players. Maybe they were just insignificant figures here. At this moment, Ling Wanyan felt like an ant that would be turned to dust by one casual trample of the huge ancient ship full of immortals and gods. Others might have a little bit more confidence with prizes from the shop. Yes, facing such existences, these people only had a little bit of confidence. However, people from other factions such as Ling Wanyan had no confidence at all. Perhaps a small voice whispered from within, "Let's back off this time, after all, they are true immortals, not the weak demons or monsters that we had faced in the past. The place where these existences stand is the destination that we have dreamed about." The only compromise that they needed to make was forgetting some unrealistic dreams they shouldn't have harbored and living as they had lived before. In Connate Cliff they will remain alive by paying such a small price. I think they know what to choose. In the distant peak in the void, immortal clouds surged up in the innumerable immortal sea while the clouds beyond the sky looked as radiant as silk. There was an extremely magnificent immortal palace hovering high in the air. Standing in the great hall of the palace, Guiye told the immortals around him with conviction. But this was the last memory that they wanted to lose. In here, I witnessed vast worlds that I'd never dared to imagine. In here, I realized the true meaning of being a cultivator. There are many other things here I've learned. Faction Master, the purple-robed old man stood up slowly. Wanyan, his face seemed to have aged even more, but his turbid eyes turned brighter. I remember a saying, if I could hear Dao in the morning, I may die in the evening without regret. My memory isn't good, do you remember this saying? Yes, the most outstanding disciple of the Taxa faction bowed and answered, it's from the Li Ren chapter of the Analects of Confucius. It's a book that records the words and deeds of an ancient saint. While supporting himself with an ebony walking cane, the faction master walked to the front of the hall with Ling Wanyan's help. Suddenly, a hot white lightning bolt exploded on the square before him, and thunder resonated in the sky. Many low-level disciples hid in their rooms and shivered. Today, I think I'm such a person, who just heard Dao. His slightly bent figure stood straight under the lightning bolts flashing in the sky. While pointing at the sky, he said, perhaps I'd rather die for it. Boom! The winds howled while thunderbolts danced wildly, illuminating this cultivator who stood tall and proud between the sky and the land. It seemed like the flashes of lightning were engraving the soul of this cultivator, who had spent all his life on the pursuit of Dao, into the sky. Zhuhua City Shop. To stay away from the shop, the old cultivators from the Wu Daoist Alliance in the Zhuhua City Shop looked out of the shop. At this moment, the low-level cultivators and warriors didn't even dare to venture out, but there were still many people in the shop. They were people who would look calm even if Tai Mountain collapsed before them. Immortals. Tribulations. We're not afraid. Nalan Hongyu said coldly. They think that we don't dare to do anything even if they unleash godly punishment. In the half-city shop, demonic woman Ning Bai revealed the intense murderous spirit that she had never shown in the shop. Like a prehistoric major demon, she showed her chilly fangs. There's nothing to be afraid of. In the Yuanyang City shop, Gu Tingyun said chillily. If you dare to touch 1 inch of the mortal land, on the shore of the heavenly abyss sea, the two black figures revealed their chilly gazes. We'll make you repay 100-fold. On Sanfen Field in Wind and Cloud, the old sword saint showed people the unyielding spine of a swordsman. With his sword spirit that even the world and the fate couldn't distinguish, he unleashed that dazzling sword strike named Sword 23. When the Qianhua faction fell from the sky in the Legend of Sword and Legend 4, only the young man who took control of his fate from the heavens could create the miracle of shooting down Qianhua with one arrow. Although those things were in the past, they had obtained courage from these memories. They lifted their heads and stood tall. This world witnessed their growth of not only strength but the vision and courage which were the integral parts of cultivators and warriors. Chapter 822 Trailer of Wrath of the Lich King, and Countdown of Journey to the West and the Beginning of the New Era. Task, Challengers Tutorial School, Intermediate, Task Target, 1. Help the Muggle students become masters, 2. Help 80% of the students reach Grandmaster level, Battle Skills, 3. Help the best students become Challengers Completeness, 1. 65%, 2. 33%, 3. 0% Task Reward, The Soul of Cinder 1, System Upgrade Big Gift Bag 1, 5-day access to the new upgraded System Cultivation Room Synchronization Pendant Upgrade. After upgrading, it can store energy. The limit of stored energy is broken down into 10 levels, and 10,000 magic crystals will be the equivalent of 1 level. Each level can be used to reduce the synchronization percentage requirement and increase synchronization time. Mr. Fang got the synchronization pendant when he first received the game Cultivation Room. It was used as a medium between the Cultivation Room and the game characters. Mr. Fang looked at the pendant dangling before his chest and wondered, this was also upgraded? Besides the upgrading of the pendant, he saw more new content. Dungeon Fighter Online's new expansion is updated. Host can choose a date to release it. World of Warcraft's new expansion, Wrath of the Lich King, has begun its promotion process. The cinematic trailer of Wrath of the Lich King has been released. The journey to the west is 95% complete and will be done in 3 days. The countdown begins. Wukong, the Monkey King, Champion Gift Bag in League of Legends will be released in 1 week. The promotion will begin in 3 days. While the system is upgrading, the host must manage the shops well and keep things in order. The initial upgrade is completed. Fang Qi looked at the system interface in pleasant surprise and with expectation. As the promotion of the new expansion of World of Warcraft began, another horrifying godly weapon Frostmourne began to reveal a part of its horrifying power. In the Kanglan City shop, the trailer for the new expansion of World of Warcraft. As local knights in Kanglan City, the Knights of the Golden Griffin Knight Legion came to the internet cafe each day regardless of what happened. Today, they came to the shop each holding an umbrella. The moment that they sat down, they saw a QQ message popping out. Although the release time wasn't set yet, and many groups of players hadn't seen Illidan in the current expansion yet, let alone the Warblades of 8 Sinoth, not everyone was a fan of PvE, and not every player craved for these things. However, every World of Warcraft player knew about the storyline, which meant that they could still watch the trailer of the new expansion despite their slow progress in the game. Right now, the Lich King was a distant legend for the World of Warcraft players. Only the players of the small game, Warcraft, in Xone knew that the Lich King brought them the same horror and suppression as the 3 destructive demon lords in Diablo 2. The horrifying spirit energy that could erode the minds of ultimate masters was especially creepy. What's this Wrath of the Lich King? The Knights of the Golden Griffin Knight Legion and the elves who had just entered the shop immediately watched it. Nearby, Saint Lydon and Saint Willie, who had just opened Diablo 2, also looked over. This game was one of the games that they had obtained during the promotion activity of buy 10 and get 1 free in the shop. It was one of their favorite games, and they played many games such as Dark Souls, Diablo, League of Legends, and World of Warcraft. Although the Saint-level masters were more interested in the first 3 games and picked 2 of them to be their main games, they were also interested in the story of World of Warcraft. Immediately, they began to watch it. In the chilly ice which had been frozen for countless years was the vague shape of an ice-sealed throne. In the chilly ice that had been frozen for countless years, one could see the cold armor with black metal glares and the figure sitting on its eternal throne. On its right-hand side stood a silverish-grey two-handed great sword that had a special shape. Frostmourne was the godly weapon that was forged by demons and contained the great evil power of the Lich King. The goat demon head engraved on the crossguard and the strange and mysterious runes on the body of the sword gave people a strong sense of its evil power. At this moment, gloomy blue flames leaped up in the dark holes inside the armor. Then, the eyes lit up. Before them was a wasteland covered in ice and snow. There was no life or anything signaling the existence of life. When the accumulated snow was brushed away, the ice underground which contained endless frost that had accumulated for many years began to crack. Bone Dragon! While the viewers exclaimed, the most horrifying undead legion in the world spread all over the mountains and fields. Meanwhile, in the Yuanyang City shop it's said that Dungeon Fighter Online's new expansion is releasing today. The people from the Ultimate West Realm were still playing Dungeon Fighter Online. They had tried other games, but this was their favorite. Of course, streamers such as the Black Light Sword Saint who had become famous due to Dungeon Fighter Online didn't forget this game. After graduating from the old expansion, they had gradually decreased their time in the game. When they heard about a new expansion, which was said to be an unprecedented major expansion, was going to be released, they returned to the game immediately. On the other side, others such as Nalan Mingxiu and Song Qingfeng found that their wish had come true, a new expansion had indeed come out. Should we enter the game and check it out? Song Qingfeng asked. Although it was an old game, they had many memories about it. King's Ruin, Screaming Cavern, and the Vilmark Area 50 with the mechanical bull. They wondered what happened to the elf girl named Syria whom they had rescued. Besides, the new expansion would open the second awakening, and it was worth a try. Anyway, I don't have matches today and can take a break. Nalan Mingxiu logged into the game cheerfully. Say, Song Qingfeng looked up at the sky outside the shop subconsciously and said worriedly, are we really in trouble? Those immortals and gods. I wonder how powerful they really are. Will they, perhaps those existences could destroy this world with a wave of their hands. Don't think about things that you can't control. Nalan Mingxiu looked at her screen and saw her level that stopped at 70. After clicking open her friend list, she found that most of them had turned grey. But some of them were still online. A private message popped out. SIA whispered, yay! You're online. F***CK. What are these new sets of equipment? Song Qingfeng watched as Nalan Mingxiu chose to browse the equipment and found that SIA was wearing some equipment that they never seen before. They look awesome, yet. I came back to have a look. Nalan Mingxiu still remembered that these people who had lived in the bitter cold Big Snow Mountains naively claimed to guard this beautiful continent. She replied quickly, I wonder what is going to happen in the new expansion that is about to be released today. Haha. The Arad continent was still beautiful and vibrant, not losing any glory and glamour due to the departure of any players. The streets of Hendenmire and the west coast looked the same as they had been. In the forest, the elf bard played light music, looking relaxed. Suddenly, as if sensing something, he looked up at the sky involuntarily. At this moment, countless players all looked up at the sky without thinking. Countless birds flew out from the beautiful jade-green forest surrounding Hendenmire. There were so many of them that they looked like black surging floods. Alarmed, they left their nests where they had lived in peace for countless years and flew to the distance. Or more accurately, they fled. The black sky and black birds drew a sharp contrast with the snow-white Hendenmire, a miracle in the desert. The nightly breeze blew by and seemed to be singing a sad eulogy for Hendenmire. Countless adventurers walked out from the taverns and dojos onto the streets. Looking up at the sky, they seemed to sense that an unimaginable big event would happen in this world. Chapter 823 Destruction Era. It was an uneventful story of adventures. But their peaceful life was turned upside down in this instant. On their way to Empyrean and Pandemonium, the adventurers increased their strength continuously and began to understand some of the cores in this world. At the beginning of the universe, everything was chaotic. One day, a great will appeared and created everything including the Arad continent, and his power illuminated this land. He gradually gained a name origin light, Carloso. When there is light, there is darkness. When the world was created, darkness also fell in this endless universe. Accidentally, it was turned into 12 powerful gods by the powerful people of Terra. They could be called gods, bellatrixes, or apostles. However, light was opposite to darkness, and a war finally broke out between them and destroyed everything. After Carloso was defeated, the 12 powerful existences only had awareness left in them and drifted in the endless universe again. This was the beginning of the entire Arad continent. The origin and the creator of the world was defeated, and the tens of thousands of laws in the universe were broken. That was why the Arad continent had such strange phenomena, including weird transfers and the endless appearances of abyss demons coming from alternate dimensions. At this moment, countless players were looking up at the chaotic sky above Hendenmire and the west coast. The depths of this void was at a location in another dimension. The whole space rotated around this center while countless dimensional fragments began to gather under the suction of this force. Not only the oasis-like and beautiful Hendenmire, but the whole Arad continent began to turn desolate. More and more people noticed the weird phenomenon in the sky, and they stared at it, forgetting whatever they had been doing. For an unknown reason, they had an ominous feeling in their minds. In that unknown dimension, a confused warrior walked over slowly. No one knew where he came from. At this moment, nebulas spun in his chest as if a mini-universe was hidden in it. In the shadow under light, they seemed to see the creator of this world in the depths of the universe. In the light and flames, the most magnificent figure in the universe condensed slowly before this confused warrior. Dressed in a holy golden battle robe, this figure had a halo, which represented the beginning of the world, behind his head while his figure began to gather and solidify. Then, he reached out his arm toward the mysterious warrior. When their hands touched, a radiant golden light beam turned everything around them golden. Carloso had once disintegrated into countless shadows and disappeared. Now, these shadows began to solidify behind him with dazzling golden and holy lights. Like the countless shadow doppelgangers, the warrior before Carloso was the last shadow doppelganger, and he finally returned. Streaks of golden light rotated and shone on this desolate alternate dimension. The energy, perhaps the most powerful in the universe and had once scattered in different places, now combined into one. While the energy gathered, a part of it spilled out during the process. The golden lightning bolts and white-hot energy beams spilling out were insignificant to Carloso, but they violently spread out from this dimension like countless huge ancient dragons that were running wild. Then, the space cracked. Among the countless rolling mountains, countless starlights gathered in one spot and then exploded violently. A beam of lightning energy pierced the sky that was covered in dark clouds. A hole appeared in the sky as if it got penetrated, and people could see the dazzling river of stars in the endless starry sky. Even the river of stars lost its color when this bright beam appeared. The horrifying energy instantly squeezed out everything including air, lightning bolts, gusts, and trees. Pushed by this horrifying energy, everything in the world spread out like surging ocean waves like a destructive light shield. The land cracked, and giant pieces were pushed up and formed tall cliffs before shattering. The seemingly endless energy spread out in great waves with explosive force. Look over there! The Ultimate West Realm players in Hendenmire pointed at the other end of the world and said in horror. Countless people heard his yell and looked over. What a sight they saw! A lightning bolt connected the sky and the earth. With lights that seemed to come from the endless chaos, everything exploded in the distant horizon. The streak of extremely horrifying energy expanded at a visible speed. Instantly, it grew as high as the sky and continued to enlarge. Even from the distance, they could still sense the tremendous force of that energy. What's that? SIA pointed at the distance in horror and yelled. Beside her, Gabriel and Luo Piaoling also looked over. Countless players who were online also turned their gazes over. What's that? What's happening over there? What's up? All the people in the city and the neighboring cities were yelling as they watched the energy, containing turbid gusts, rainstorms, thunder, lightning bolts, and even mountains, sweeping across every corner of the world between the sky to the land. It had turned into a horrifying destructive light wall. It had been far away when people spotted it. However, when they reacted, they could already hear the howls of winds, the roars of the thunder and the land, and surging ocean waves. When they tried to do something subconsciously, everything was shattered, ranging from the distant high mountains to the snow-white west coast port and the miraculous sky tower leading to Empyrean. The land behind them would be the next to be turned into dust in this catastrophe. At this moment, the bold promises that the players had made when they first stepped onto this continent echoed in their minds. This beautiful continent was a part of their youthful dream. Ultimate Slay, Tempest. Ghost 7, Furious Blash. Extreme Overkill. One by one, the names of these powerful skills, their hoarse roars in prior battles flashed across their minds. A sword may conquer the flesh, but only your heart may conquer the mind. The core principle of martial arts is to become one with nature. Their trainers' teachings echoed in their ears. Luo Piaoling, SIA pulled on the sleeve of the warrior standing beside her. Vaguely, they remembered that these so-called barbarians who had lived in the big snow mountains had been fascinated by this beautiful world at first glance. They had once playfully promised that if one day, someone tried to destroy this world, they would fight to the death without any regrets. Nu. Ah! Tempest! They saw a figure charging at the destructive light wall. In the darkness, countless lights flashed as the surrounding space was shattered. However, in the next moment, everything including the person who used this skill was swallowed by this horrifying energy. Extreme Overkill! Ah! Gabriel yelled hoarsely and charged forward like a madman. Then, his whole body, together with the once unrivaled sword energy, turned into dust. Blood mist sprayed around like a shower. Ghost 7, Furious Blash. Ha! Everything was swallowed. Everything on the continent where the warriors had adventured on and guarded together was destroyed. Some of them snapped back to their senses and found that they were on another continent. There were many familiar faces, but many things were different. For example, the place where they were standing was Underfoot Town instead of Hendenmire. Yes, it was the Underfoot Town where the Headless Knight guarded the gate. They even saw the male Slayer trainer, the blind old man named G.S.D, but this was the place where they had fought countless monsters. What was more? Everything was in the opposite position. Storm Pass had been to the west of Underfoot Town, but now it was located to the east and had turned into a desolate ice cliff. The Sky Rift to the north of Underfoot Town was now to the south of this world. In the ruined Sky Rift, a waterfall appeared, and it flowed upward instead of downward. They seemed to be in another world in which everything was the mirror image of the original world. It was an astonishing change. Some people called this the Great Transfer, after which time and space were distorted while the events in the past and in the future were turned upside down. Some people survived the huge catastrophe and were transferred by the distorted time-space continuum into another continent which was similar to but different from the previous one. Some people were turned into dust with the old continent. At this moment, everyone's minds turned blank in disbelief. With vague speculations, many people began to accept the fact after some time. In the Kanglan City shop, Sala and other elves were talking. I heard that the so-called Dungeon Fighter Online released a new expansion. Should we go and check it out? Why? Rowling asked in bafflement on the side. I heard that it has awesome scenery. Sala said happily, many people recommended it to us. Now that the new expansion is out, should we take this opportunity and check it out? Scenery. Elder Sewell looked over in surprise. Yeah, Sala said, people say that there's a sky tower which looks like a miraculous piece of architecture. Should we go and check it out? Okay. Okay. Hearing that there was good scenery, the elves were motivated. Dungeon Fighter Online seems to be a game that is free of charge. We can just enter and play. Let's go and try it, one elf said cheerfully. It was wonderful that they could view the scenery without paying for it. Then, they all entered the game. 1 hour later, with great efforts, they came into the new city. Like those warriors before them, they looked around curiously and felt like everything was new. Sala, where's Sky Tower that you mentioned? Rowling squatted down on the roadside in a huff. We've looked for it for so long and still can't find it. They told me that it's to the west of Hendenmire. Sala looked at the city in bafflement. Maybe that person was exaggerating about the magnificence of the Sky Tower. Rowling said in displeasure. Let's ask someone about it. At this moment, Elder Sewell said this. Okay. Sala nodded and said, let's ask a veteran player. Look at that guy, he looks awesome with those great items. He must be a veteran player. Luo Piaoling, who was doing quests to level up, saw a group of players walking toward him. Hello. How come we can't find Sky Tower? He was silent for a long time. Seeing their sincere and expectant faces, he had a complicated expression on his face. He seemed to have lots to say, but whenever he opened his mouth, he was at a loss for words. With deep regret, he said after a long pause, sorry, we failed to protect Arad. Perhaps the stories of these adventures had ended here with that world. In Yuanyang City, sir. At this moment, Mr. Fang was listening to songs while playing League of Legends. Suddenly, a voice message popped out from QQ. He clicked on it and was almost deafened by the yell from the message. Who is it? Mr. Fang looked at it in a bad mood. SIA. When did I add her as a friend? After some thinking, he remembered that she was the first customer who had deposited millions of crystals in her membership card as soon as she bought the card. It was normal for her to be on his friend list. What's wrong? Mr. Fang said sulkily. In the Yuanyang City shop, a blonde woman cried her heart out with her head resting on the computer desk. Our Arad continent exploded. Woo! She gestured at the screen to Mr. Fang and cried, we were playing the game and doing window shopping, then, it exploded. You see, everything was fine a moment ago. Dungeon Fighter Online was the favorite game of the people from the Ultimate West Realm. Of course, some other veteran players were also playing the game. They all looked at the shop owner with anger and bafflement. Sir, what's happening? Mr. Fang was confused, thinking, hiss? It's fine that you come to me when you don't understand the games or can't clear some stages. How come you are coming to me to protest the explosion of the Arad continent? As the shop owner, I can only give you this advice, ignore those things. Mr. Fang clicked open the official website and said, look, the new expansion is about to be released. There's Aden Dungeon, the biggest dungeon in the history of Dungeon Fighter Online. There is also the Second Awakening. SIA looked toward the spot where Mr. Fang pointed. Look, Mr. Fang continued, on May 1st, we'll release the Labor Day's gift bag and new Labor Day fashion outfits with gift box. There is a high chance that you might get a pure golden amplification grimoire and amplification protection vouchers. It's not May 1st yet, but they are on pre-sale now. Amplify was an enhancement method stronger than reinforcement. As everyone knew, when the equipment reached level 10 reinforcement, any more reinforcement that ended in failure would break the equipment, and all the previous efforts would be wasted. Meanwhile, it was extremely difficult to acquire superior equipment in Dungeon Fighter Online, so amplification protection vouchers. SIA looked at Mr. Fang's screen and saw not only amplification protection vouchers but items such as the Abyss Orb as well. They were all good items that were rarely seen. The most important was that there were no trash items in the gift bags, and the buyers were guaranteed to have rare items when they opened them. If it was true, then SIA began to imagine herself equipped with sets of equipment amplified to level 14 or 15. In the past, she didn't even dare to think of it since any failure in reinforcement would destroy the equipment. The situation changed. Is this gift bag really so good? SIA looked at Mr. Fang with excitement and asked. Hey! Her gaze moved down and saw the promotion which offered more bonus rewards when buying more things with the upper limit set at 10 sets of gift bags. For example, if she bought 3 sets, she would get a level 80 superior chest of her own choice. If she bought 8 sets, she would get a random level 85 superior weapon chest which is the current highest level, and if she bought 10 sets, she would get a unique title. Are these really free? With glinting eyes, she looked at Mr. Fang in amazement. Then, she got confused. These precious things sell for only about 200 crystals each? Aren't you going to lose money by giving out all these bonus rewards? Of course they are free. This is a special promotion to help adventurers challenge the more powerful monster Apostle Anton. Apostle Anton. It must be noted that it was the previous forms of these apostles who had battled with Carloso, the god of creation. Although the game didn't elaborate on this part of the story, many details showed that the wills of those 12 gods drifting into the depths of the universe were related to the apostles who were now on the top of the world. Would the god of creation who had destroyed Arad continent also enter a dungeon one day? I must work hard to get stronger. She had never looked so determined before. I have 7 characters. Each account can buy 1 set, which means that I need 3 more sets to get the most rewards. Maybe I shouldn't buy so many. No. I can't miss this opportunity to grow stronger. If I get stronger, one day, I will be able to battle Carloso. Instantly, she had a determined look on her face. I'll buy 10 sets. I'll take 6 sets. I'll buy 8 sets. I want to grow stronger. I'll buy 10 sets too. Carloso, you shall die. Instantly, the whole shop turned boisterous. Mr. Fang glanced at the system interface which showed, creation of journey to the west is speeding up, the system upgrade is speeding up. They had heard that it was about a stone, and now it changed to a monkey. The problem was, what is there to see about a monkey? Not interested. With a wave of his claws, Gulf went back to play World of Warcraft. Right now, he was raiding an old instance, Blackwing Lair. He murmured to himself in a muffled deep voice, the dragon in this instance is very powerful, even though it's a bit outdated now. But I heard that its father, called something like Deathwing, is even more powerful. I think I might discuss what a catastrophe is with it. Monkeys are not interesting. The elves also complained. We don't want to watch this kind of TV series. As art-loving elves, they were fans of beauty to some degree. If the main character was good-looking, they would still watch despite the boring content. But, monkeys! Then, they went back to play Dungeon Fighter Online. After all, as fans of scenery, if they didn't care about equipment, they could play any game including World of Warcraft and Dungeon Fighter Online. There's an elf class in this game too. We can enjoy the scenery in this game too. What are you playing? I'm playing as a rogue. It's said that this is a new class in this expansion. I'm playing as an elven knight, which seems to be a new class too. I'm playing as this Lightbringer. Hey? How come you can change into an elf, but I can't? Let's go and check out some good scenery. Although they didn't have money and thus couldn't protect the Arad continent, they still could dress beautifully and go out to enjoy the scenery that this world offered. With the expansion of Mr. Fang's shops, the games and TV series in the shop could be divided into 2 big categories and some smaller divisions due to the differences of the cultivation systems of the players. The 2 big categories were naturally divided according to the Oriental and Occidental systems in the games. For players from the East Continent and the Continent of Immortal Relics, TV series such as The Turbulent Homeland as well as games such as The Legend of Sword and Fairy and even Dungeon Fighter Online and The Legend of Mir 2 were more to their liking. It was why these games had more players from these continents. Of course, when these games were popular, there had been many players and viewers coming from the West continent too. Likewise, the games such as Dark Souls, Assassin's Creed, and the old game Diablo 2, which had recently become popular in the West continent, always had many fans in the Kanglan City shop. Even when the new expansion of World of Warcraft continued to gain popularity in different shops, many players such as those in the continent of Immortal Relics still continued with their explorations in the world of Legend of Sword and Fairy, Dungeon Fighter Online, and the Legend of Mir 2. Likewise, when the viewers in the shops were stunned by the appearance of Qi Tiandi in the turbulent homeland, many players in Kanglan City were quietly playing World of Warcraft or challenging the horrifying monsters in Dark Souls. Of course, some were limited by their own talents. For example, some people with good talent could obtain inspirations from the ultimate godly techniques that were casually used by Qi Tiandi in the turbulent homeland. But others, would be better off trying other stuff. Some excelled in heavy weapons, some in magic spells, some in sword control technique, and some in the study of spiritual artifacts and machinery. Despite all this, some saint-level masters and many other players in the West continent were engrossed in the study of item combination in Diablo 2, trying to find the method to fight the last 3 Uber demon lords. Also, they searched for the countless secrets hidden in the world of Dark Souls. Lastly, with great efforts, they fought Illidan, the powerful demon coming from over 10,000 years ago in World of Warcraft, while understanding these great figures' stories in Warcraft. We all have our own favorite games and stories. In these touching stories, we have different beliefs and perspectives. Then, why should we play and watch the games and TV series which have different structures and power systems? Furthermore, the people of West Continent didn't even have enough time to play all the games and watch all the movies such as World of Warcraft, Dark Souls, StarCraft, Diablo, Final Fantasy, and Resident Evil after everything was released. They only had a vague idea about Xiangxia and Wuxia, and few of them would spend much time to study them. It was so with average people and more so with higher-level existences. Such insignificant, and lowly creatures, standing on the top of the endless godly mountains, the palace-like fortress had a layer of light snow on the walls. With golden pupils and a silver godly crown that was hovering above her head as if it was supported by a godly force, this woman's face looked like a statue made of white jade and oozed a casual and natural nobleness. Standing next to her was a man wearing 5-colored godly armor and looking as dazzling as the Sunday radiant light. "Tisk, tisk," the woman said mildly, "I heard, the mortal nation under your control is in trouble again? The godly court has entrusted the whole issue to the innumerable immortal sea." The woman sneered and said, "The god of radiant light judgment is nothing in their eyes." This man's face didn't show any emotion. In fact, it seemed like he had the urge to smirk. "You underestimate me." "Oh." The woman waited for him to continue. "In my eyes, they are like a group of monkeys." The man wearing 5-colored godly armor had extremely handsome immortal features and an extremely dignified presence. "Do we need to dirty our hands to deal with a group of monkeys living in the most primitive wasteland and playing the lowliest tricks?" He looked cold, showing no emotion on his face, as if he didn't feel any anger when he heard the woman's rude words. He didn't seem angry from the very beginning with the fact that he wasn't entrusted with the task to deal with a group of ridiculous monkeys. Monkeys? Are they? The woman thought for a moment and seemed to remember the records about this kind of creature in the mortal world. Are they the animals in the mortal world that will do funny tricks for bananas? The woman on the side couldn't help but stifle a giggle. He, yes, for these lofty existences, humans were just a group of monkeys in a cage. How much turbulence could the monkeys create anyway?